Let's get it. 580 Sports Talk is live and direct on a Tuesday. Made you wait for it. We got 3 hours of sports talk coming your way. It's going up on the sports voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, on your mobile device, on the MSC radio app, and on YouTube at 580 Sports Talk. However, wherever, whenever you're tuning in to the program today, thank you so much for being a part of 580 Sports Talk. My name is Dan Lucero. So happy to be with you on this Tuesday. Spencer Dupuis will join me in the 4 o'clock hour with you until 6 o'clock. More late night Royals baseball. We got those gremlins in the system figured out by around the second inning last night on our broadcast, and we're good to go with the Royals Radio Network tonight. 8:30 pregame, 9:10 first pitch. Game 2 between the Royals and the Dodgers wasn't quite the pitcher's duel we anticipated, as both lineups made it hard on the opposing left-hander, but a good ball game all the same. Unfortunately, a Dodger game went how a Dodger game usually goes, which is to say the Dodgers won 6-5 over the Royals in the opener of that 3-game set last night. Michael Wacha, Blake Snell, the starting pitchers scheduled for this evening. Again, 8:30 pregame, 9:10 first pitch, right here, 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. So we are with you until 6 o'clock today. That means we got 3 hours to hang out, and it's going to be a fun 3 hours of sports talk today. A lot of audio to bring you today, a lot of guests to bring you today. Coming up at the bottom of this hour, Collin Klein's first press conference of the fall from Manhattan. It's not going to do a lot of press this fall. It stands in stark contrast. You follow both programs, and this is not me saying there's a right or a wrong way here, but if you follow both programs, you can't help but notice. Fall camp, somebody's doing media every day in Lawrence. Lance Leipold will do it once, maybe twice some weeks. You hear from DK McDonald pretty regularly. You hear from Andy Kotelnicki pretty regularly. You hear from position coaches, the strength coach. A lot of media availability. After every practice in Lawrence, there is media availability. In Manhattan, we hope you enjoy hearing from Collin Klein today, because I don't think you're going to hear from him again until game week, if my information is correct. But even if it's not, the point is there's much less media availability for Kansas State than there is for Kansas, which is a reminder that even though it is no longer Bill Snyder's program, it is still in many ways still Bill Snyder's program. Doesn't look like, there's some open practice, and maybe you'll get to hear from some of the coaches and a few players there, but this is the only sit-down press conference scheduled for Collin Klein before game week, before the week that K-State opens up against Nichols on September 5th. So with that in mind, we're going to play it live for you. He's set to take the dais at 3:30. We'll bring you that press conference from Manhattan, much of it as we can squeeze into the 3 o'clock hour. But we've got Collin Klein coming up at the bottom of the 3 o'clock hour today. We've also got some audio from Chiefs camp. Plenty to talk about today because the Chiefs gave us a depth chart. That's manna from heaven for the sports talk hosts out there, the bloggers out there. Something to really dig into and discuss. So what do we notice from that first depth chart of the season for the Chiefs? Again, it is a game week. Chiefs and Rams on Saturday at Arrowhead, Saturday afternoon, 3 o'clock kick. 2 o'clock pregame here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. What did we notice about that first depth chart? And we'll hear from Steve Spagnuolo, who spoke to the media today. We're also going to hear from Rashee Rice, who we have not heard from all camp. It's the first time he's done any media since he was injured last season, and certainly the first time he's done any media since he went to jail. So there were obviously going to be a lot of questions, like, what happened there? What were you thinking? What did you learn? And Rashee Rice, at a minimum, checked all the boxes as far as saying all the right things, but we'll hear from Rashee Rice. We'll play some of that press conference later on in the show today as well. Also get the latest from the transaction wire, because the Chiefs made a move today, it wouldn't be a Chiefs offseason without them bringing back an old friend, would it? It wouldn't. You couldn't, right? Had to bring back an old pal. And the Chiefs did. Emmanuel Ogbah is going to be a Chief again. Last a member of the club back in 2019. Played pretty well that year for the Chiefs, if you recall. Got hurt toward the end. They missed him for the playoff run. And spent the intervening years bouncing around. He's very much been a journeyman. Played 13 games for Jacksonville last year and now rejoins the Chiefs. Is this a sign that Ashton Gelati is more hurt than anybody's letting on, or that Felix Anudike-Uzomah's hype was just a bubble that has already burst? I don't think that it is. And we'll get into why in a little bit. Also, speaking of the Chiefs, you know we got another training camp report. If we've got a show on a day that ends in a Y in August, Mitch Holthus is on with us, the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs. He'll join us for a training camp report at 5:25. Again, Prove It Week, Show Me Something Week continues for the Chiefs. And today we're going to spotlight the third-year wide receiver out of Texas, the former first-round pick, Xavier Worthy. So Mitch Holthus, voice of the Chiefs at 5:25. Thanks to Assure Credit Union and Hy-Vee. And at the bottom of the 4 o'clock hour, we'll talk Jayhawks with Michael Swain of Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. Get his impressions after the first week and change of Jayhawk football camp and anything else KU-related we can think of to talk about with Michael Swain, our Jayhawk insider from Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. Jayhawk Weekly coming up bottom of the 4 o'clock hour. You might not think we've got room for anything else, but trust, we do. All the shenanigans you've come to know and love from a Tuesday on this show. We got another round of What Is Wrong With You. We got a Random Question Tuesday coming up. We got a whole bunch of headlines to get to as well. Plus, your interaction on the program, always welcome. The text line is open, 785-272-9429, 785-272-9429. Text line is always open. Always open. Which means you can text whenever you'd like. I might not read it until I get behind the microphone to start the show the next day, but you can text whenever. And anytime, I shouldn't say anytime, but a lot of times, many times when the Royals lose, I will expect that I will hear from Gigi on the text line from the 785, who will always text something complimentary about the Royals opponent from the night before or from the weekend that was. So anytime the Royals lose, I think to myself, well, that was a crummy game. But on the bright side, Gigi might pop up in the text line and might get to hear from them. So appreciate anybody who texts anytime. We appreciate it. 785-272-9429. Gigi did weigh in on the Dodgers last night, by the way. Said that Kyle Tucker may be the missing piece to the World Series. I don't think the Dodgers have a whole lot of missing pieces from the team that's won the World Series the last 2 years. And if there was a missing piece, I'm not sure it's the guy that they can't play against lefties right now. And that's been spending most of the summer getting booed. Old Kyle Tucker out there, and it hasn't made a great start to life as a Dodger. But point broadly taken, Gigi. They're awfully good. And even on a night like last night where a lot went right for the Royals, you had to have everything go right to beat the two-time defending champs. So 785-272-9429 is the text line. Can also get at us in the live chat on YouTube. 580 Sports Talk is the name of the channel. Go subscribe to the channel. That's the best way to be informed when we go live, when we produce new content, when we publish a short. You're going to want to be subscribed to see the Hot Wing Challenge coming before the start of football season, which means before the end of this month, Spencer Dupuis and I are going to eat the hottest wings we can find. For you. We're going to suffer for you because you got us to 1,000 subscribers. Go get us to the next 1,000. We'll eat, I don't know, we'll just raw dog the hottest peppers, that we can eat. We'll skip the middleman. We'll just go straight to the ghost pepper at 2,000 subscribers. Don't hold us to that. But go subscribe. 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. Mark H. is in the chat today. See Carl, Christopher. I see Andrew. I see Vance in the chat today. Who else? Am I missing anybody? Paul's in the chat. Good to see all of you. Good to see the taco emoji in the chat from Christopher helping me to remember exactly what day it is. You guys have been around long enough, you know I kind of, they blur a little bit. But thanks to everybody listening and watching on YouTube today. Let's jump in with some Chiefs talk, huh? A transaction today. I think it was Adam Schefter who had it first. Emmanuel Ogbah is returning to Kansas City, signing a one-year deal with the Chiefs. I mentioned earlier that Ogbah spent last season with the Jaguars, but this is a reunion for the 33-year-old defensive end, as previously he spent the 2019 season with the Chiefs, of course, was a Super Bowl champion. Even though he was injured and they missed him for the playoff run, Ogbah was really good in his time on the field. Played just 10 games due to injury that season, but recorded 5.5 sacks. And that performance, coming off of 3 fairly disappointing years as an early second-round pick with the Cleveland Browns, kind of re-energized his career. He got a big contract from Miami the year after that, and then spent the next 5 years with the Dolphins, recording back-to-back 9-sack seasons in 2020 and 2021. Dealt with some injuries again in 2022. Still a steady contributor in 23 and 24 before last year signing with Jacksonville and having the least productive season of his career. Played 13 games, but started only 3. Recorded just half a sack. That's a career low. And just 15 total tackles, 4 quarterback hits. The quarterback hits also a career low. So the Chiefs are probably not getting prime Emmanuel Ogbah, is what I mean to suggest. He'll turn 33 on November 6th. Well, what are they getting? Well, for one, it's another veteran in the room. We know how valuable the Chiefs believe that to be. Veteran guys that Steve Spagnuolo trusts, that Andy Reid trusts. Even though he was only around for a year, Ogbah made a really good impression. He was somebody they wanted to keep, would have loved to have kept. But Miami had more money, and that's what always happens, right? You win the Super Bowl, and all of a sudden your free agents are a lot more expensive to keep, and you can't keep them all. And Ogbah was kind of a casualty there going into the 2020 regular season. But it not only provides that, it also, I think, closes the book on the ideal opening day 53-man roster portion of defensive linemen. Chiefs are probably going to carry 9. They could carry 10, but typically they have carried no fewer than 9 on the 53-man roster. And going into today, they had 7 locked in. George Karlaftis, Ashton Gillotte, R. Mason Thomas, and Felix Anudike-Uzomah on the edge. Chris Jones, Peter Woods, and Kyrus Tonga at defensive tackle. Omar Norman-Lott's the 8th if he can get off of PUP. And I've said it before, I like that group. I think that's a deep group. I think it's a young group, an athletic group, a group with some potential there in Woods, Thomas, and Gillotte in particular. I think that's a solid group. I feel better about that 7-8 player defensive line rotation than I did about the group that was the Chiefs defensive line group for the better part of last season, with some aging guys who were starting to show their years. Mike Dana, Charles Omenihu, Mike Pinnell, Derek Nottie. Guys just didn't have a lot of juice. I think this group's got juice. But it's only 7 or 8, depending on, again, Omar Norman-Lott's health. So they needed a 9th. They needed a 9th, and the competition for the 9th was a lot of UDFAs, a lot of guys who've never played an NFL game. Ethan Downs was probably going to be locked in as the 9th defensive lineman, with the bonus of being able to sort of play a hybrid linebacker type of role. I think they really had, maybe not big plans, but I think they were really intrigued by Ethan Downs as a 53-man roster guy this year, and then he tore up his knee first day of camp. That sucks. But outside of that, the depth in camp is just a bunch of kids, a bunch of rookies, a bunch of practice squad guys, a bunch of UDFAs. And I can understand the Chiefs being a little hesitant to have 1, potentially 2 roster spots filled by guys like that if they're going to carry 9 or potentially 10 defensive linemen. So there's room to squeeze Emmanuel Ogbah on. And if he's defensive end number 5, if he's strictly third down, fresh legs, here's a vet, cut him loose, I think that's probably fine. I think there will probably be games in that role where he's not active. Again, he's coming off of the worst season of his career. Guys typically don't go from age 32 to age 33 and get back to their prime production. Not to say it's never happened, just to say it's not the smart money. So thinking Emmanuel Ogbah is going to come in and add even the 5.5 sacks that he had contributed in his final 2 years as a Dolphin, I don't think that's reasonable either. But a veteran voice, a trusted voice, and a depth piece that allows you to feel better about your rotation and your room as a whole, where you're already leaning on, this is already a young group, right? Peter Woods, first-round pick, rookie. Mason Thomas, second-round pick, rookie. Gelati, year 2. Norman Lott, year 2. Anudike Uzama, year 4, and he's as young as any of those guys because he was so young when he got drafted. It's a young group. To have the backups to your young guys be not just as young, but even less experienced or even less projectable, less highly touted. I mean, go ahead. Think about it. Unless you're a diehard, reads every day the roster and the depth chart, unless you're that, chances are pretty good you can't even name a defensive end on this roster, on this 90-man camp roster, outside of the 4 that are already going to make the team. Karlaftis, Gelati, Mason Thomas, and Felix Anudike-Uzama. Go ahead, name another one. Unless you're Ethan Herkett's grandmother, you're probably struggling. Maybe you're VJ Anthony's parents. But outside of those folks, hard to come up with that group. So I don't think that the signing of Ogbah is necessarily a sign that, well, actually, this was all smoke and no fire around the start to camp that Felix has had, or that Ashton Gelati's hamstring might be bothering him more than they're letting on. No, I think that they needed a body. We've been saying all offseason they needed one, right? The difference is I don't think they brought Emmanuel Ogbah on in the same way that it would have been if they brought Cameron Jordan on. Cameron Jordan, who, by the way, tweaked his hamstring at Saints camp today and could miss some time. Rather than bring somebody in who's going to demand a bunch of playing time, who's going to stand in the way maybe of the development of Gelati and Felix, whatever, or Mason Thomas, bring in a guy who supplements the room, who understands, hey, I'm on my last legs here, but I'm in a place where I've won. I'm in a place where I've contributed before. I have a comfort level with that. I have a comfort level with the defensive coordinator. I'm happy in this role. I don't mind being defensive end number 5 at this stage in my career. That's a much harder sell for any of the other defensive end, defensive tackles on the market. Guys who've never been in your room, who don't know anybody in your room. A lot easier sell to bring in a guy like Ogbah to play that part. 785-272-9429 is the text line. 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. Collin Klein's press conference starts in about 5 minutes. We're going to bring as much as we can of it to you live. We got your listener reaction coming up. We got Michael Swain, Fog.net, bottom of the 4 o'clock hour. We'll hear from Steve Spagnuolo. We'll hear from Rashee Rice. Mitch Holthus for a training camp report at 5:25. We're jam-packed today. So glad you're here on 580 Sports Talk. 326 on 580 Sports Talk. We're just getting rolling on this Tuesday. Again, in just a matter of moments, Collin Klein is scheduled to take the podium in Manhattan. We'll hear his press conference, his initial press conference for fall camp, and his only scheduled press conference of fall camp. Season opener for K-State, of course, first Saturday of September, the 5th, at home against Nicholls State. Some thoughts from the listeners. Let's go to the live chat on 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. Carl says, I get the feeling the Chiefs are getting old. They're bringing in older players. I don't love it. Andrew makes an argument that he would rather have seen the Chiefs sign Jadeveon Clowney. I think that if the Chiefs felt like they needed a starting caliber edge, there were options out there that were better than Emmanuel Ogbah, right? Like you mentioned, Clowney was a late signee. Joey Bosa's still out there. Leonard Floyd, Von Miller, Hassan Reddick, Derek Barnett, Kyle Van Noy is still on the market. Like, there are guys out there with much bigger names and much better recent production than Emmanuel Ogbah. If the Chiefs felt like, all right, we need a guy who's going to come in and play 40 to 60% of the snaps. If they needed a Carlos Dunlap type of impact on their defensive line, there are guys out there who could give that to them. They'd have to do the cap gymnastics, but they have people to make that work. They hire people for that. Clearly, they felt like if they were going to supplement the group in any way, it was going to be with a veteran who understood that that might not be the role. There might not be 40% of the snaps for you. Might be 15. Might be 20. Might be you don't dress for a game. But they didn't want to bring in anybody who's going to stand in the way of Gelati earning it, or R. Mason Thomas earning it, or even Felix Anudike-Uzomah earning it as far as their place in the rotation, their place on the field. If that had been at issue, then I think you would have seen a different kind of transaction. You might have even seen it earlier in camp. But appreciate the thoughts, as always, from the group. Again, you can get at me in the live chat on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. Collin Klein set to speak momentarily. We'll go live to it when we get there. But first, a real quick word for my friends at Calhoun Jewelers here in the capital city. I loved shopping at Calhoun's Jewelers, and not just because I was buying a wedding band engagement ring for my wife and a wedding ring for myself. I loved that part of it, obviously, but I loved the process. I loved how I was treated throughout it all. I loved the selection they had at Calhoun's Jewelers. You're going to find something eye-catching. You're going to find something you're going to be proud to wear forever, or the person you're buying it for is going to be proud to wear forever. So go see him, Calhoun's Jewelers, 18th and Gage in Topeka. Collin Klein's press conference next on 580 Sports Talk. Collin Klein is at the dais. Let's go to Manhattan and hear from the head coach of the Wildcats.
situations faster, having had the foundation laid in a lot of ways. The structure, how we're practicing, very, very similar.
Have you had an opportunity to consider adding any fifth-year guys who might have just become eligible that some other schools have looked into?
There was a couple opportunities that we were looking at. Some of that has to depend with our own roster and kind of where we're sitting. It's not looking like there will be any fits that, that'll happen.
I also wanted to ask George Fitzpatrick, how's he tracking, and are you expecting him to be a contributor this season?
He still has some benchmarks to hit that he and his family and some of the specialists that they have visited with, along with our team doctors. So kind of working through that process, not quite there yet.
Anything else health-related that's popped up over the last few weeks or last couple of weeks that have notable?
A few bumps and bruises, but nothing that's for the season.
What are you looking for early on here, the first few practices? What's impressed you the most? Just some guys that have maybe stood out.
Yeah, I think the carryover from the work that we've done in the spring and the summer to not have to go back and backtrack, right? That we could start and have a clean start out of the hole, so to speak, so that we can keep moving forward. I think they've done that. I think have been very pleased, and our staff has been very pleased with the retention from the off-season programs to be able to hit the ground running. The list is pretty long as far as guys that have flashed. I think the biggest thing we're looking for across the board at every position is consistency, and I think that's what will, in the position battles that we have at defensive tackle, at offensive line, at safety. The consistency factor at all of those positions are going to be what solidifies those spots for those guys.
At defensive tackle, Kamari's always been the name you guys have talked about, and then wanting consistency next to him. Just who are some of those guys that are just kind of fighting right now and starting to show they're a little more consistent?
Yeah, and I think we're fortunate. There's a lot of versatility there. I know playing some guys at some different spots too, which has been a good thing. Kamari's had a very, very good start. We've been able to we're cross-training a couple different guys at a couple different positions as well, with Travis Bates and Jordan Allen, and being able to move some guys around. So it's taking shape.
Where's your offensive line? You at right now? You were missing some guys in the spring. Did you get them back?
Yes. No. I mean, pretty much everybody's been able to be a full go. A couple exceptions to that, but no. I think it's progressing well. Trying a lot of different combinations, which I think is good for the long term and the journey that we'll be on this season. As far as the exact five and where they'll play, it's still, I think this next week is going to be very telling to that.
Where are you at with your receivers? Who's kind of standing out?
Yeah, I think probably the four that have been the main producers and in the rotation have been Jerron Tibbs. Getting him back from the spring was tremendous. Has had a really, really good camp and started fast. Josh Manning you can tell he's comfortable, from getting here in the spring and getting around Avery, them getting on the same page. Been able to see him kind of come out of his shell and compete at a very, very high level and take some steps forward. Isaiah Williams has been very consistent and, had some plays. And then Brandon White has really come on and done some really, really good things in the slot, some good things in the return game, and excited for and then those four kind of have been in the main rotation, but then AD Adonis Moyes, he's done some really, really nice things, and Larry Porter's done some really, really nice things. So I think excited for that group.
Right into special teams. Where are you at with your return game, and who's kind of getting looks at that?
We're getting a lot of guys reps back there. It's been Joe, it's been Jay Harris has been back there, Brandon White's been back there. Again, getting a lot of guys touches. I think we got some explosive returners.
Quarterback-wise, obviously we know Avery, and I know that's a battle that's probably going to go on through the year, but can you kind of go through each of the other guys and say what you've liked most about what they've done over this time?
Yeah, I think, it's every one of them has had some really, really high moments. I think consistency, again, is the word that for them, who is going to solidify that backup role and who's going to take it, and said it at the end of the spring. So far, a week and a half in, I think we're still in about the same state. Jacob Knuth's got a lot of experience. You can tell he's very mature. He doesn't let any of the highs and lows of his own play or what's going on around him affect him very much. Very, very steady. You look at Blake Barnett. Some of his flash plays are really, really exciting. Obviously, very, very athletic. Really, really good twitch. Good tools and can really push the ball down the field, and has created some explosive plays through the course of camp, pushing the ball down the field. But then again, the consistency factor is he's still growing into that. And then Dylan Duff, again, has worked incredibly hard, very, very efficient throwing the football, has made really, really good decisions and protected the ball at a really, really good clip. Have told all those guys and have been very excited with what all three have done. Who takes the job here down the stretch? We'll see. But I know they're all working really, really hard. Have done a nice job in the offense, and we'll kind of see how it goes.
And then with Luis Rodriguez, he kind of a weird situation last year. He came in kind of late. There were a lot of injuries around him. Through this offseason, how has he responded to having some competition?
Really well. I thought that kickers in the kicking game, Stanton has worked them extremely hard. They've got a lot of kicks in them, and I think it's been good for both of them. They've really been striking the ball well.
What does your rotation look like right now? Will linebacker, anybody cross-training at the linebacker spots?
Yeah, I think the three that have really, the four rather, I guess, probably that are kind of rotating through and really doing a nice job are, Gabe Powers, Rex Van Wy, Mekhi Mason, and Darian Whitaker. Those four have kind of been working through there, and I think we're finding some rotations with them, but all of them are doing a heck of a job.
What about in nickel? Who's been standing out there?
Yeah, I think MJ and JoJo have really the competition between both of them is ongoing, but both of them have taken really, really good steps since the spring. Cover ability, communication, I think has really, really improved. So excited to see how that goes, but I think we got two guys that you feel really, really good about there.
I know Pavard played a lot of nickel back at Virginia. You guys list him as a safety. Just what's the usage of him going to be? Is he just somebody who can play all over the field?
Yeah, no, I think those other two safety spots, you have it'll be interesting to see how it shakes out, because it is very competitive, between Jason, Logan Bartley, Wesley Fair, Adrian Maddox, even Coy Beasley a little bit, like the combination of that and how that all fit together. It's good to have those options. I think we have an idea of where it's headed, but credit them. I mean, they're getting better and competing with each other well.
How do you balance player development this time of year with also trying to establish a depth chart? Is there a point where that turns from one to the other?
Yeah, I think the way the schedule lines out, I think I think camp will conclude when school starts, and I think that is a line of demarcation, but to where some of that will settle itself out. But competition is something that we want in our program, and that is never going to stop. And it's not who wins this job, that isn't worth the paper it's printed on, right? Like you got to go out every single day to that practice field, and you got to earn it, and you got to do what the team needs you to do for us to be successful on that unit. And that's at every position across the board every day.
Collin, what would you say is your biggest challenge with Avery during training camp right now?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about challenge. I think both of us and our entire staff, like, we love learning, we love growing, we love pushing each other. So any challenge is something we try to overcome quickly and then move on to the next one. He's that way. I mean, normally you could say, is an older player complacent, or how much is he, excited to learn new things and grow? And it's like, I can't really say a whole lot of really anything negative like that about something that he needs to work on. Yeah, there's schemes we're working on and throws we're working on and defensive recognition things, sure. But I've been very, very pleased with his mindset, his approach, and it's been fun to watch the work that he and every one of our skill guys across the board have put in through the course of the off season, and to see that start to come to fruition, and then to see that they feel that too, and they get a little bit of taste in their mouth of that, and how that spurs more energy and more work and a hunger to even be better.
I just wanted to ask about the offensive line. How big do you ideally want that rotation to be? Do you want to play 5 guys every game, 10 guys every game? Do you have a certain number in mind?
Oh, as big. I thought we were talking height and weight. I was going to say as big and tall as possible. No, it's interesting. I think you'd love to have 7 or 8 that you feel really, really good about and that are in a rotation. I think that's a little different year to year as far as like how many snaps, guys can play and what's the right mix, right? Back in the day, we didn't play more than really 5 or 6, at certain stretches. All depends on the year, depends on the guys, and depends on the fit. I think we're in a position, and Coach Smith's doing a great job to give us some flexibility on that to really see how that goes through these first couple games.
One more, at least for me. When you look at the defensive line, Wendell Gregory and Jordan Allen, what are things that stand out to you about them that make other people say, hey, these guys are on the rise?
Well, I think their ability to rush the passer is real. They have really, really good hands. They have good twitch and ability to bend. And both of them have been extremely diligent in the weight room this offseason. Not that they were sitting in a bad place, but Coach Jacobs, the weight program, and credit to their effort, they've done a heck of a job preparing themselves for this season. That shows up on tape, and they're both high motor guys, and they show up around the football a lot. So
I wanted to ask about your being play caller, being head coach for first time. Just how much have you already thought about that, or just did you have your system in place as far as delegating some things to others as far as game management, challenges, timeouts? Just how's that process been?
Well, you hit the nail on the head. The only way it's going to work is I got great people around me, and that's what we have. I've been very, very pleased how that flow has worked. I think it'll be a combination of some of those game management decisions will be myself, Sean Gleason, our offensive coordinator, who has done that a couple different places that he's been with Stanton. We will use analytics, but we'll put our own little spin on it. So that'll be part of it. And then, as far as the weekly process goes, I mean, there's a lot of moving pieces, but I feel really good with the process that we've been able to build the schedule that we have to be really, really efficient and get a lot done. It's going to be a lot on my plate, but definitely have a lot of great support.
Anybody you take advice from? I know Coach Elko took that over going into last season. Just have you reached out to others about how to do that?
Well, it was a talk that he and I had even before I left College Station, and I got to see first year to second year what the difference looked like, right? Because you can't be 2 places in one time. So. No, I think had good discussions, good perspectives, and even from him, trusted. He knows me and got to see me work, for 2 years, and so able to see my process and kind of how I work through things and seeing if that was the right decision. I really believe it was, and so no, I definitely have called and asked a few people, but I'm excited for the challenge, the opportunity, and our players have been outstanding.
One more for me. Just when you have Lincoln, when you have Garrett, I know you were waiting until fall camp to just kind of think about the usage of those when you've done just getting into some more 12 personnel maybe than you have at previous stops. Just how have you kind of managed that and just adapting to some of the strengths on your roster?
Yeah, I think, and even, the first week here, week and a half or so of camp, like the way we're able to build the multiple facets of our attack offensively is you have to build the individual parts really, really well, because with as diverse as we are and as multiple as we are, if you can lose your focus on fundamentals and detail and schematic congruency that can make it look not good in a hurry, right? And so I think really focusing on the different components so that as we put them all together, it looks how we want it to look. That's what we've been focused on. That's what we've been working towards. Very excited about how those different components are looking. Lincoln is a special athlete. Garrett Oakley's a special athlete. There's a lot of NFL personnel that have been through our building even last week, just already at the start of things that he pops of how he's moving around, and that's a really good thing. So, but their buy-in to doing and mastering their job and their craft and how that all comes together, I'm really excited to see.
Collin, how fast ideally do you want to go offensively this season? Do you have a ideal time in between plays you'd like to get at?
As many as possible while being us. I think that's an interesting point, because the total snaps and total possessions over the last 5-10 years in college football is going down. It's gone down. I think we've been able to maintain a very diverse, multiple attack while still giving ourselves enough chances, which sometimes I think that's a very unique aspect of what we do. We want to play with good rhythm. I want to control the tempo more than go fast or slow, right? And there's going to be different ways that we do that based on the needs of that week.
How much does the 5-5 going to change how you handle eligibility concerns about getting younger guys out onto the field? Because there's really, aside from skill and ability, no reason to get them out there as much as you possibly can now.
Yeah, I think it's a great thing, first of all, and I think it's great for the player, because I think the last 5 years in college football, because there has been such an uptick in roster turnover and roster management, people have probably and programs have not protected players or their best interest at times, which probably put them in jeopardy and was not in their best interest. And I think this fixes that, right? I think as coaches, as a team, we're doing ourselves a disservice if we are not giving the young men in our program the best chance to win and the best chance to succeed. And there was collateral damage in some of those decisions at times, and I think this eliminates that. We're going to play the best guy and who's worked the hardest and who's earned it, and gives our team and program the best chance to be successful.
And Oliver Miller was a name that came up all around spring. Has he held up and continued to impress throughout the summer? And then are there any other fresh out of high school guys who are nipping at the heels of possibly getting out there in some significant way?
Yeah, I think he probably he's definitely continued his trend. He's doing a tremendous job. He's in a position as one of if not the main true freshman that I think will be in the heat of it pretty early. So credit to him, and he comes from a great program there in Denver and coaches that I greatly respect and even grew up watching a little bit. So I'm proud to have him in purple.
Back to the return game, you mentioned Brandon White. Is he showing you guys great things on both kick and punt? Are you looking at different guys for different return groups?
Yeah, I think all of it right now. It is, and it's I know probably more general than you want, but it's where we're at. So, I think the thing with Brandon that him coming in, understanding that he's extremely motivated. He's worked extremely hard. I think watching how he's gotten his body in shape and how hard he's worked on our offense and playbook to be able to be the weapon that he wants to be is a credit to him. He's got very, very good twitch, change direction, and top end, and that's even improved since he's gotten here, and he's putting it to use.
Yeah, leads me to my next question. Since the spring, is anybody breaking any speed records, any weightlifting records, anything that stands out since then?
Not really. We even Coach Jacobs and I talked about how we did some of our summer program coming into training camp, and I think there is a theology there that you want to peak at training camp, and I didn't really understand that because we play football for more than a day or more than a week. You play it for 6 months, and so we need to raise our floor and have our operating window be very, very high and very, very narrow so that we're always in this range. And so we kind of took the second half of the summer and did a lot more load, a little bit more volume type training to get ready for a long season where I think I heard that the average play speed of NFL football from a skill position is 17 miles an hour. And so we need to be really, really good at our play speed for 4 quarters for 6 months. And so I think some of that has been kind of fun to see come to fruition and how that's translated even to training camp early.
Anything else?
All right. Thank you, guys.
There you have it. Collin Klein's first press conference, maybe the only press conference of this fall camp for the first-year head coach of the Kansas State Wildcats. We'll take a quick timeout, chew on some of that before we get out and wrap up this first hour of 580 Sports Talk. .355 on 580 Sports Talk. Dan Lucero with you to wrap up this opening hour of the program. We just heard Collin Klein from Manhattan, his first press conference and his only scheduled sit-down press conference of fall camp. So you get to hear his thoughts on every position. If you had any questions about any spot on the depth chart, any situational position or anything, Collin Klein answered all of that for you over the past 25 minutes or so. And one of the things that that stood out for me talking about the offensive line, because I think that's going to be a group that has a big hand in determining what kind of season this is for Kansas State. I think that's going to be a group that needs to solidify, and obviously you have to have depth there, but I've always been of the mind you need depth, but you got to find a 5 that's going to be out there together and develop cohesiveness as a first 5. I mean, you want to rotate some guys in for a series or two here and there, sure, but you better have a go-to five. You better be settled on that by the time the rubber meets the road. It sounds like Collin Klein and his staff are getting there. Might not be there yet. Understandable. And a lot of spots up for grabs. It's also good to hear that George Fitzpatrick continues to be on the mend and hopefully moving towards playing some football this year. Obviously had the health episode last camp, the heat stroke that cost him all of last season, and obviously a horrifying incident, but that he is practicing, that he's trying to get his way back into the shape he needs to be in if he's going to play, and it would be wonderful to see him on the field, to come all the way back from that. So, again, that was Collin Klein, his press conference. You heard it live. That was live from Manhattan. You heard every bit of it here on 580 Sports Talk today. Coming up in the 4 o'clock hour of the program, we're going to hear some audio from Chiefs camp. Steve Spagnuolo spoke to the media today. So did Rashee Rice. We'll hear from the veteran wide receiver and the longtime defensive coordinator. Also, bottom of the hour, Michael Swain of Fog.net. Don't worry, Jayhawk fans. We didn't forget you on this Tuesday. It's when we do Jayhawk Weekly every week. We'll talk to Michael about the latest from Jayhawk football camp, what he's observed, what he's thinking week and change into things out there in Lawrence. We'll also have a round of What Is Wrong With You and some Random Question Tuesday as well. Remember, the text line is open, 785-272-9429. And we invite you, as always, to join us in the live chat on our YouTube channel. Name of the channel is 580 Sports Talk. But stick and stay. Hour number 2 of 580 Sports Talk is coming up next. Let's get it. Hour number 2, 580 Sports Talk on this Tuesday. Dan Lucero, Spencer Dupuis joining you on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, on your mobile device, on the MSC radio app, and on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. Hello to all of you listening, watching, however you're enjoying the show on this Tuesday. A lot more to get to in these next 2 hours. We're off at 6. Royals baseball late night tonight, 8:30. First pitch, pregame, 8:30 pregame, 9:10 first pitch at Chavez Ravine, Royals and Dodgers. Game 1 went to the Dodgers last night, 6-5. The bullpen did what the bullpen does. John Schreiber gave up a 3-run go-ahead double to Max Muncy, spoiled what was a solid effort from Noah Cameron working into the 6th. And then after the Royals had tied it on maybe the unlikeliest home run of the season, since Tyler Tolbert has 2 of them now, I can't just say, oh, it was Tyler Tolbert hitting a home run, because he has multiple home runs now. So that makes him a power hitter. No, I think
a power hitter and a pitcher as well?
Yes, he's many things. Tyler Tolbert is many things. He's a power hitter. He's a mop-up reliever. He's the worst base runner I've ever seen in my life. He's a lot of things.
Utility superhero.
The unlikeliest home run of the year might have been Kyle Isbell left on left at Dodger Stadium, where the ball doesn't carry. I did not. I'm gonna keep it 100 with you guys. I did not stay up for the duration of that baseball game. I went to bed after Caglione struck out against Skubal in the 5th.
Lucky you.
I clocked out. But when I saw that Kyle Isbell hit a game-tying home run, I about fell out of bed this morning. I could not believe that. I understand we had some technical issues with the start of last night's game. We did get it. We did get a connection with the Royals Radio Network back after I think it was first, second inning. Do apologize for that. We're on our guard to make sure that doesn't happen again tonight. We do apologize. Sometimes technical problems happen, and those are regrettable, but we try and fix them, make sure they don't happen again. So we've got the ball game tonight, 8:30 pregame, 9:10 first pitch coming your way here on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. We're going to talk Jayhawks with Michael Swain at the bottom of the hour. Michael Swain of Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. Get his thoughts on the developments at Jayhawk football camp. And anything else KU related we can think of to discuss with Michael Swain. That's coming up. What is Wrong with You is coming up. Mitch Holthus at 5:25 for another training camp report with the voice of the Chiefs, brought to us by Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union. That's coming up again at 5:25 today. Still got headlines, still got some Random Question Tuesday to get you as well. Text line is open, 785-272-9429, 785-272-9429. You can also interact with us in the live chat on our YouTube channel. Again, the name of that channel, 580 Sports Talk. Go subscribe to the YouTube channel. Help us get to our next 1,000 subscribers. Before the end of the show on August 28th, Spencer and I are going to eat hot wings. I said before football season, and that is what I mean. Sometime
before the show
on the next 13 shows.
12.
Are we off a day?
I'm off.
What day?
I'm leaving the 28th.
You're leaving the 28th.
I got to
okay.
get out here at 3:30.
So before the 27th of August, we're going to eat hot wings. That is going to happen. We are going to do a hot wing challenge as a thank you for getting to 1,000 subscribers. I'm not going to lie to you. I did a little cross training today, Spencer.
What do we do here?
I'm doing some prep. Have you been to Pollo's Jr. on 6th and McVicker?
No.
Okay, you drive by it, it's got a sign that says best chicken in town. That's what they do. It's like here they've got like 4 options. They season and sauce a chicken.
Okay.
And serve it with rice and beans and tortillas. Simple concept, brilliant concept.
Yeah.
I had not been, but any place that hangs out a shingle that says best chicken in town, eventually I'm going to get over there and I'm going to try it.
Yeah.
And so I went to Pollo's Jr. today, and I ordered the chiltepín, which is the house specialty. That's what they told me. It's the specialty of the house. It's a family recipe. It's a chiltepín chili. It's a specific kind of chili. There's a peanut portion of the sauce and panela, and it said it was 3 spicy out of 5. It was a 3 out of 5 on the spicy ranking. I wasn't ready to jump all the way in on the spiciest of the spicy, the pollo matcha. I wasn't ready for that yet, but I said, I'll try the chiltepín. Brother, it was spicy. If that's a 3, I'm not messing with a 5 over there. I'll tell you what, if that's a 3. It was really good, though. It was really good.
Interesting.
Really good. Good beans, good rice. Really good. I got half a chicken. I just love the simplicity of a place like that. Yeah, give me half a chicken or give me a whole chicken. So, I had that today. And, a little prepping my taste buds for the Hot Wing Challenge. That's coming up before August 27th. We'll give you some lead time. We'll let you know when we're going to actually do it, but I promise that is coming up on 580 Sports Talk. But let's talk some Chiefs because we got a depth chart, baby. That's how you can tell we're getting close to the start of the season, right?
But in that depth chart.
We got a depth chart today. It's something to chew on. Don't complain about its existence. We needed it. We being people who host sports talk shows for a living. We got a depth chart to yell and argue and rant and rave about. So that's what we got to talk about today. 4 things jumped out at me. 4 things. And I guess maybe you could trim it down to 3. But if I were Brashard Smith,
I'd be scared.
I hope he didn't buy. I hope he rented. Running back group goes Kenneth Walker first team, Amari DiMercato second team. No big surprises there. We had heard, Jesse Newell had pointed out that Brashard Smith had been getting a lot of work in first team reps at running back, getting some red zone, getting some goal line reps. And yet he finds himself behind Emmett Johnson in 4th on the running back depth chart and finds himself behind Nico Remigio as both the kick returner and the punt returner. And that to me, and I've kind of felt this way for the better part of this offseason, that kind of feels like an either or, especially if they're going to keep 4 tight ends.
Yeah.
It feels like it's Remigio or Brashard Smith, a 7th wide receiver, because I think Remigio's been passed up on the depth chart. In fact, he is passed up on this particular depth chart by Andrew Armstrong,
who spoke to the media today.
Yeah, a sign of somebody having a really good camp.
This late in camp,
Yeah.
not during the rookie portion. They had some of those guys speak during the rookie portion, but we're 2 weeks into camp?
Yeah, it's a game week. It's a game week we heard from Andrew Armstrong, who is certainly making his presence felt at wide receiver with the opportunities, with Worthy being down for a few days, with Cyrus Allen having been down, with Rashee Rice easing back in. Andrew Armstrong taking that opportunity and running with it. So it feels like they could carry a 7th wide receiver and they could carry a 4th running back, but they can't carry both. So I really feel like that spot is kind of going to be the return specialist. And I don't know. Right now it's Remigio with the edge, which surprises me because I think, like, based on what I've seen, Smith is better. But
Yeah.
Remigio's done it more, maybe a little bit more trusted. And
But
certainly
didn't he drop a ball during the preseason last year?
Remigio?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No,
Yeah.
He had a fumble during the regular season, too. He's been a little fumbly. He fumbled at the end of a long return against Houston in the playoffs 2 years ago.
Well, for his sake, I hope he doesn't do that during
Yeah, he can't.
preseason. He
can't afford
that.
No, can't afford for that to happen. So noted that in the first depth chart. Also noted, going back to the wide receiver group, the top 6 are what you would think. Tyquan Thornton, Rashee Rice, and Xavier Worthy listed as the starters. Jalen Royals, Cyrus Allen, and Andrew Armstrong listed after that. We know they're going to keep at least 6. Those feel like the 6. Like, I don't think they're going to bail on Jalen Royals in year 2. Cyrus Allen, obviously, has had a tremendous camp. Another injury scare for him today, but he hobbled off and came back. He was fine, just twisted his ankle, got tangled up with Christian Fulton a little bit. And then, as we mentioned, Armstrong, bigger wide receiver, was a practice squad guy for them last year, signed a futures contract right away, so they obviously liked what they were seeing from him in-house. And so those feel like the 6. That leaves guys like maybe Remigio, if he doesn't make it as the returner, Jimmy Holiday, Jason Brownlee, and any of your other favorite UDFAs kind of on the outside looking in as far as wide receivers go. The offensive line depth chart, Jalen Moore ahead of Khalil Benson at right tackle. That's, I think, what we would have expected going into week 1. Another UDFA in the first 10 is Pete Nigra, who's not a name that we've talked about at all. He is an undrafted free agent out of Louisville and has the opportunity to maybe win a spot as a swing interior offensive lineman. But typically this is another position where, okay, do they keep 9 or do they keep 10? If they keep 9, Niagara probably gets bounced by Hunter Norzad, Mike Caliendo, because they're going to keep the 4 tackles.
Yeah.
So Niagara very much on the bubble, but that's right now him being second team on the depth chart ahead of the likes of C.J. Hansen, I think is noteworthy because Hansen's been in the program there for a couple of years. One other thing that jumped out, and Jesse Newell wrote this, so not necessarily reflected in the depth chart, but starting to notice more Jaden Kennedy in the slot, where you're seeing primarily Chris Roland Wallace line up there. He's still getting the first team reps. He's listed as a second team safety on the depth chart, but Kennedy appears to have maybe leapfrog Cater Kohu in the battle for those reps at that position. So that's another thing that'll bear a little bit of watching.
I don't know if this is interesting, but I think it's kind of odd that LJ, Ladarius Sneed, is listed as the starter.
Yeah, so he is listed as a starter, and Delane's listed as a backup. Yeah, you think that's
is that
probably
just familiarity with the system?
Has to be at this point. Brett Veach went on NFL radio this morning or late last night, but since we talked to you last, he said it was a shoulder blade injury for Delane, which the Chiefs have had a run of those. Hollywood Brown had one in his first year with the team, and then who was it last year hurt the shoulder blade, had to have, I don't think it was Worthy. I think it was somebody else who had that same injury to the shoulder blade that can be kind of scary if you don't manage it right. So that would explain why they've had the kid gloves with Delane. But they're hoping that in a week, 7 to 8 days is what Veach said, you're going to start to see him get that yellow jersey off. All right, let's hear from some of the Chiefs. We're going to start with Rashee Rice because he had not spoke to the media since his summer in the clink, 30 days in jail. But Rashee Rice spoke to the media earlier today, and here is what the fourth-year Chiefs wide receiver. Well, really, a whole lot of the questions were of the vein of, what do you have to say for yourself, Rashee Rice? Well, here's what Rashee Rice has to say for himself.
Rashee, what would you like people to know about you?
To know about me now?
Yeah.
I'm 100% locked in on what's going on now with the team. Ready to go out there and dominate, and that I got a good group of brotherhood behind me.
How do you look back on the summer?
I learned an experience, a reality check, and don't focus on the past, focus on what's going on now.
Obviously, with everything that you've done, mentally, how are you doing?
I'm doing good mentally. I got the right group of guys around me. Just good agents, good coaches, small circle on anybody else outside that's not a part of the football team, just keeping my head straight and also keeping me in a positive attitude.
Within that circle, who do you lean on the most for difficult times?
I mean, I had times where I could talk to my trainers, times where me and Pat are during the summer just grinding in the facility, just me and him and the trainers. So it's always good to keep building that relationship on and off the field, and just kind of having somebody that you know will always back you, have support for them.
Just considering your rehab and with Jerry Reed, I guess how do you feel like the rehab process went, making sure you were ready to?
I think it went good. I was in there early in the morning until it was time for me to go, as much as I could work, and just constantly doing that over and over. Just kind of basically believing in what they had dialed up for me to make sure my knee was strong and ready for the field.
This is obviously a contract 63. I guess how motivating is even that factor, just setting yourself up for the future?
I mean, it's motivating. Honestly, just being able to be back on the field with my brothers right now is motivating. So that's in the future right now. Right now I'm just focused on what's going on right now, and that's getting better for the team. Honestly, I thought it was probably just a little bit of swelling. I didn't know it was something that needed to have surgery. So we kind of taught to just keep going until you can't anymore. And it was a perfect time for me to get it cleaned up so that it wouldn't affect me for this season. So I was ready to go regardless.
Most people only know you fans on the headlines.
explain who you are to people who only know you for the second?
I would say I'm a positive guy. I'm a great person to feed off as far as energy. A smiling guy mostly at all times. Unless it's time for work, I'm serious. And then I'm a father, so I take most responsibility in being a good father to my boys.
Where do you want to improve the most this year? Where do you want to improve the most this year?
Where do I want to improve the most? Honestly, I would want to improve the most on certain plays that I know specifically aren't coming to me just because it's a full concept and everybody's going to eat and everybody got to get the ball.
Can you tell what your rehab was like? How you did rehab the knee?
Yeah, I mean, I would stretch it, do some activation on it, and then hit the weight room, and then jog in the Ultra G, and just condition, getting the muscle fatigue going as well as my stamina.
You mentioned just your smiling nature on every week. You start to see it, but was it tough that month?
I've had surgery before. I would say the best part about it was being able to be in there with Pat, knowing that he had a more serious surgery and how hard he was working. It just kind of motivated me. And then he pulling up in the craziest cars every day, so he's just my motivation every morning.
What about the jail time machine? Was that month for you?
Yeah, it was tough. It was mentally tough. They gave me ways to communicate with my teammates still, and as well as my athletic trainer. So, I mean, besides the hard times in there, I kept my mind right, watching shows and as much Kevin Hart as I can to laugh. And then without that, just communicate with everybody on the outside.
Rashee, you said you learned a lesson from this. What is that lesson you say you've learned?
Honestly, it's just a reality check and not taking anything for granted.
When it comes to part of the new coaching staff, what has jumped out to you most about Chad O'Shea, how he leads that room, and what the enemy is like on the field when you guys are practicing?
Yeah, real detailed on the things that aren't really things that are looked upon as far as like when you don't have the ball finishing to go block. We got a crazy running back K9, so there's no telling where the ball's going to end up at the end of the play. We got guys like Cyrus Allen and Taekwon that's going to win down the field, might just need one more block. So as far as being in the room with O'Shea, is details, and being on the field, it's just kind of hectic situations and staying calm at that moment.
Last couple, Matt and Steve. Go ahead, Matt.
You really haven't had a chance yet where you've been on the field, Xavier, Taekwon, and Cyrus and all been available at the same time. What do you feel like that quartet can do together when you are healthy and you are playing together?
We're going to do some amazing things, not only because we're great receivers, but because we got a good coaching staff around us as well as a good quarterback and a foundation in general.
You got a lot of young guys that look up to you, whether they're Pop Warner all the way up to Rice and top. What would your message be to those guys that may be going?
Find someone that you can lean on, find someone that you can talk to, and just basically don't be scared to vocalize yourself and say exactly what's on your mind, because somebody else is going through the same thing. So many people in the world to not go through the same thing.
So that was Rashee Rice, the new outlook on life. We hope.
I hope. He did mention cars, though.
He did. It's okay to like cars. My son.
I know.
My son likes cars. He also hasn't done a car-related crime, unless you count me stepping on a spare Hot Wheel, which I don't think counts. But speaking of, he also says, I'm a father. I need to be a better role model for my children. He's right about that. You hope it works out for his sake, certainly for the Chiefs' sake, if he can keep his head on straight. But Rashee Rice's biggest battle right now isn't necessarily anything on the field. It's just getting himself right, making better decisions. Steve Spagnuolo, defensive coordinator of the Chiefs, he also spoke today. Here's Spags.
Right now, that third linebacker spot.
Yeah, some guys are getting a lot of, with Drew down, some other guys are getting a lot of reps, and I like what Jeff's been doing. Jack is a jack of all trades. You see, you guys, when you're watching, you see he plays every spot there, whether we're in sub, whether we're in base. I just think it's an opportunity with some of these guys out for those other guys to step up and get a lot of reps.
With another year, do you feel like Jeff mentally a bit more?
No, I would agree with that. I think he's like a couple of these other guys that are in their second year. It makes a huge difference. when you can come here to St. Joe's after, your second wave of OTAs because they had their rookie year, and I just think they feel more comfortable. When they get tired, it isn't as, taxing because you know a little bit more about the defense.
Steve, what couple of things do you think you're most eager to see Saturday? I'm sure there's many, but
yeah.
There are a couple, 3 things that really stand out.
By always, the first one is tackling. And that probably is preceded by what we call block destruction and getting off of blocks. And quite frankly, not so much today, I'd have to watch the film, but yesterday I didn't like the fact that a lot of run plays, and we're getting a lot more run plays than we used to. A lot of those run plays were going right down the middle of our defense. Now, we're not tackling and it's not live, but I would like to see us be a little bit more physical. So I'm looking for the physicality, the tacking, the block destruction. Those would be the most important things.
Anything particular positionally, or it's sort of too all-encompassing to say?
Pretty much all-encompassing, although I do think I think we've had a secondary, a defensive backfield that has tackled pretty well over the years. And I'd like these new guys to come in and embrace that and be good on the back end. So I'll be looking for that, but really overall, all the tackling.
Because I know what the value of a week 1 preseason unofficial depth chart is.
Yeah, the value of it.
Yeah. The Snead and Goal as the starters and Fulton and Mansoor as the backups. Is that kind of how you see it shaking out right now?
It's really hard. I can't really. I mean, it's on there. LJ's been in the league for a while. Noel has too. Probably why Brad did it that way. Neither LJ or Delane has really practiced very much. So we're way down the road on all of that. Health will be a big issue. Continuity, how many reps they've had going in, and we'll see when we get to the first game.
You also report that you're bringing in Emmanuel Ogbah.
Yeah.
The guy you've had around before?
Yeah, I always had an affection for E. It was disappointing the one year we had him in 2019 when I thought he was really coming on, and then he got hurt, and then we didn't have him at the end of the year. But I've always periodically been in touch with him. We got to get through the physical and all those other things, but if he's part of our group, I'll be excited about that. Yeah, it's not as quickly as I'd like to be honest with you. It's been a little slow moving, and Alohi Gilman, he's new. It's not like you have guys around some of these young corners that have been through it, so there's a learning curve for him. But it's going to take a little while and then we got a bunch of guys that we think we might be banking on during the regular season that aren't even out there practicing, so it's going to take some time for that to come together.
Last one, Mark.
Chris Jones has been a big part of this defense for a long time. What have you kind of seen out of him at this year's training camp with a little bit of an evolving roster?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm sure you've talked to Chris. If you haven't, you will. It's probably different for him. There's not a lot of guys he's looking at side by side that have been in the league as long as he has. Although I do think, he relates well to these young guys. He's always willing to help out a little bit. I think for him, his work ethic himself and what he's doing, not helping anybody else, has been pretty good. I think during the practice today, I think Coach Reed kind of challenged him to kind of pick, and he did, and we need that. And Chris responds well with those kind of things when you ask him to do it. So he's been good that way.
That was Steve Spagnuolo earlier today at Chiefs camp. We're overdue for a break. We're going to take one here. When we come back, we got What Is Wrong With You? Then Michael Swain joins us for Jayhawk Weekly on 580 Sports Talk. And Lucero from 580 Sports Talk, and once again, I'm chatting with the owner of the new Smoothie King coming to Topeka. Ryan Christopher. Smoothie King opens up August 22nd with a grand opening celebration. We've talked, Ryan, about all of the delicious options on the menu, but I have to ask, what's your personal favorite?
Yeah, well, I actually go to one called the Shredder, and it's really ice and powders. It's more of a protein-based smoothie. I don't like to have a lot of the calories or the carbs or the sugars within my smoothie. And so I use one called the Shredder, and it's really great. It tastes wonderful, and I know that I'm getting the right macros that I need for my dietary needs.
I mentioned before the celebration begins on the grand opening day. That's August 22nd. What can we expect as part of the grand opening festivities?
When people come in, 10 people will have an opportunity to win free smoothies for an entire year. We know it's going to be packed, so people may have to come early and get some lawn chairs. But we're going to be rolling out on Monday. We're going to have a deal of the day every single day through that following Sunday. And beginning that Monday, it's going to be $5.99 20-ounce smoothie day.
Free smoothies for a year from Smoothie King. Can't beat that. That's Ryan Christopher. He's the owner of the new Smoothie King. It's going in opening August 22nd, 2121 Southwest Wanamaker Road, Suite 107, right here in Topeka. We'll have more 580 Sports Talk coming up right after this. So what is wrong with you time at 580 Sports Talk? We got two new stories today, trying to take down our current weekly champion, Machete versus Hatchet. That's what it sounds like. Two guys in Florida. They were fighting over a girl, we found out.
Yes, so one of them
was dating the other's ex?
Yes.
Was that what it was?
Yes.
And one of them had a hatchet.
She was a witness to the fight.
One of them had a hatchet, and one of them, who's done time for his involvement in a murder previously.
The ex-boyfriend.
Yes, the ex-boyfriend in question. He had a machete. So, yeah, that's our current champion. I'm going to go first. Boy, you got to watch out what that AI tells you to do, all right? We're going to Chuzhou, China. That might not be pronounced right. We're going to China, where a farmer took weed and pest control advice from a chatbot. The 67-year-old farmer was recommended by the AI to use, oh boy, high-efficiency flupyrimethyline and flufenicet to kill weeds and mix it with thiamethoxazine and methyl salt. He followed the instructions blindly, failing to check that what he was doing was safe, and killed 25 acres of his sesame seedlings. Jeez. The presumably upset farmer returned to the AI to ask, hey, man, what'd you do? And then the AI, whenever it does something wrong and you call them on it, you know how they always do that? You know what? Yeah, you're right. I messed up. See, this is why I said what I said, and what I should have said was this. Anyway, another reason not to trust the AI. The reason was apparently the use of flusulfosulfather, or the flufenicet. That is mainly used to kill broadleaf weeds in soybean fields, but sesame is a broadleaf plant. So he should have known not to put that on the sesame. He killed 25 acres of his sesame seedlings. Also, you're supposed to only spray flufenicet directly onto the affected areas rather than spreading it across an entire field, which is what he did.
Jeez.
67-year-old man got a chat bot to tell him how to do the job he's probably been doing his whole life, and he killed 25 acres of crops.
He also killed a lot more while trying to figure that out.
Yeah, boiled the ocean to get bad farming advice. What's your story today?
It's pretty simple. We're going to Lee County, Florida. A Florida man is behind bars after deputies said he broke into a smoke shop because he, quote, wanted to get high. According to the Lee County Sheriff's Office, surveillance footage from Vape Master's Smoke Shop on Lee Boulevard captured a man throwing a rock at the business's front door on Wednesday morning. The Sheriff's Office said the suspect was entering the business and stealing about $140 worth of THC products and a lighter. They say they identified the suspect, 25-year-old Job Josile.
I think that's Job.
Job Josile. Through investigative means, when the detectives found him, he reportedly told them he broke into the store because, quote, he just wanted to get high.
Sure.
He was arrested and charged with burglary of an unoccupied structure, criminal mischief, and petty theft.
Simple as.
Yeah.
All right, who we got today?
I don't know.
Dude is a 67-year-old farmer.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Hopefully I could I pronounce those names right. I'm sure we got some people who listen who've done a little farming, might be familiar with flufenicet, flusulfa ether. I think is what that's supposed to say. I had some trouble with those. Hopefully I got those right. Maybe if you're out there in the ag field or a farmer, you got a chuckle out of that. Maybe not, because that dude lost 25 acres of crops. Oh my God, dude! Just do the job you know how to do, right? Ask. That's the thing. Like we say, hey, AI. What should I do? And AI spits out an answer, but AI only knows what we tell it, right?
I just read an ag news story the other day. Farmers are trying to use AI more because they think it can help them.
Well, here's a warning.
Here's a horror story.
Does that beat Machete versus Hatchet?
I don't think so.
Nah, it's a strong title. Machete versus Hatchet continues as our champion on What Is Wrong With You. When we come back, Jayhawk Weekly with Michael Swain of Fog.net as we continue on 580 Sports Talk. We are joined in the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline by Michael Swain of Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. For Jayhawk Weekly, Michael joins us every Tuesday at this time. Now's a great time to become a VIP subscriber over at Fog.net and the 24/7 Sports Network to get all of Michael's inside reporting and writing about the Jayhawks as fall camp continues. And we're a week and change into fall camp now. Michael, if you had to choose one development so far that you've been tracking during fall camp that is maybe the most intriguing, maybe the most exciting for the prospects of Jayhawk football, what would that development be to this point?
Yeah, I would probably say you look at, I think we probably talked about our Big 12 media days, right? Lance Leipold's really high on the depth of the roster, and I think you've seen some of that start to show up during camp. And when you're playing a 12-game season over 13 weeks with a trip to London in there, right, depth is going to be tested. And I think you can look at some positions, whether it's linebacker or safety. Those are two spots that KU needs improved play, and there are several players kind of pushing for starting spots, and things are not, cut and dry right now of who's going to start, where this time last year it was pretty clear who was going to be able to start at this point in camp. So I think for KU, the depth at those two spots has really shown up. I think if guys stay healthy, running back is another one of those that I think it's shown up. Dylan Edwards and Yasin Willis had a good start at camp, but you got Jalen Dupree there, then you Corey Mockery to stay healthy, and you feel good about that spot. And then I think offensive line, Lance Leipold continues to talk about how much he likes that unit. I want to see how the pieces kind of come together over the next couple weeks before I, would agree with that statement. I think it's one of those where we got to see, is Amir Herring going to start at center? Or is that Kason Carpenter? What are the position battles at other spots? If Herring does go to center, if Herring stays at guard, does Connor Stroh beat Tavake Tuikolavatu? There are still some questions there. But I think you look at the start of camp, and I think it's confirmed some of the stuff that Leipold said about the depth, and you feel pretty good about some spots here coming out of the first week.
It's one thing to have depth, but sometimes saying that you have depth is also kind of a stand-in for nobody separating. So do you think that there's enough where you feel like as some of those positions, especially linebacker, that you've got separation of the guys who are going to be clear leaders and your clear top choices at the position, and maybe that depth comment is really just not feeling like there's that much of a fall-off?
So here's what I compare and contrast, right? I would say linebacker is a great example of the opposite of what you said, right? Where nobody's separating, right? You're seeing a group separate here. Trey Lathan's going to be the starting Mike linebacker, and Bam Crouch will probably play a lot of the will spot. And then you've got Quincy Davis, who the coaches are really high on and really are pleased with. He'll be kind of your two-way player, guy that can play some Mike, guy that can play some Will. And then you've got kind of beneath those three, you've got Jabril Al-Amin, who can play a little bit of Will, but you're going to see him play maybe some more three linebacker packages. So within that room, you've seen the hierarchy kind of already be established. And then behind that, you've got a Malachi Curvey, who's coming along, someone that I think will be a core special teams guy this year. And then I think in the long run, bright future ahead for him. And then I contrast that with the cornerback position, where, for example, you can look at it and say, man, KU has a lot of depth, but there really isn't anybody separating. You got Jalen Todd starting on one side, and then on the other, they're still trying to figure it out. Austin Alexander is not 100%. Saeed Gibbs is still coming and trying to fight back to get back to 100% health-wise. You got Jaleel Hurley, who's been in the program, but, man, his name just doesn't come up very often. And then you have two new transfers in Elijah Cannon from Mississippi State, a younger guy who's not played as much, who had some flashes in the first week. And then you got Roman Pearson from Ball State, a more experienced guy who has performed well at times but needs to be consistent. So you look at that room and you're like, okay, there are a lot of names there, but has someone stepped up yet and said, yep, I'm going to be the starter opposite Jalen Todd? That hasn't happened yet. I think that's going to be one of the key things to watch over the next couple weeks, because KU, you can look last year, and Jalen Todd was solid, but DJ Graham and Austin Alexander played at a below par level. And so you need better play from your corners. And so I'll be really interested to see kind of who emerges as the starter as we get closer to week one.
Michael Swain of Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network, is joining us for Jayhawk Weekly here on 580 Sports Talk. We do it every Tuesday at this time. I want to ask about the tight end spot, because it's been fairly prominent in the KU offense over the last handful of years. It maybe not as prominent production-wise with Matt Lubick calling the shots last year, but a lot of different guys rotated in. A lot of different guys saw time last season. Andy Kotelnicki's back, and in the Andy Kotelnicki offense, there is space for a tight end or multiple tight ends to put up numbers and make big plays. So who's in the mix there, and who's the likeliest to be the big play tight end, the tight end who has a chance to have the biggest impact on the passing game this year?
Yeah, I think you look at it, and even last year, right, they got ravaged with injuries, and you had a guy like Bowden Gurren step up when guys were just going down left and right. They had Nolan Gorska, an offensive tackle, playing some tight end at times. You look this year, and I think you feel pretty good about Carson Brune being your starter, kind of highest snap guy. I really don't know if you can even call it starter versus not in this room. And then behind him, right, you got Jalen Butler, who might be a little bit more of an all-around guy. He blocked a lot at Old Dominion, and from what it sounded like, KU kind of feels like his receiving ability is untapped potential. And then you go to a Carter Moses, right, at Albany last year. He was very much a receiving threat, really good pass-catching tape. Maybe not as consistent or as big and physical in the run-blocking game. And then you got Leighton Cure, who hasn't really caught a lot of passes in his time at KU. He's been a solid blocker, kind of a little bit of an all-around guy. So you got this big mix together, and it's going to be really interesting to see the situations that certain guys are used. And I thought Lance Leipold made an interesting comment. He talked about wanting to set a top two in the tight end room, and then kind of figuring out who kind of the third guy is and then who the fourth guy is. So right now, I would say Carson Brune is definitely going to be in one of those top two. I think maybe Jalen Butler has the early edge for that spot, but we'll have to see. And then from there, we kind of should see how Andy Kotelnicki and Matt Lubick come together to mix and match. Because you're right, like there's gonna be a lot of two tight end formations, and I think it's gonna have a similar feel maybe to 2023. You know, when you had a Fairchild and a Casey playing at the same time, where Fairchild was very much more of your pass catcher and Casey was kind of your blocker. So I think it'll be kind of interesting to see how Kotelnicki puts the pieces together there.
We can't possibly talk about fall camp there in Lawrence without talking about the quarterbacks. Jim Zebrowski, who's coaching the quarterbacks again this season, spoke a few days ago at some of the media availability. What did he have to say about how the quarterbacks have performed to date in camp, and what has stood out about what you've gotten to see from what Cole Ballard and Isaiah Marshall are putting out there on the day-to-day?
Yeah, it's kind of been your rudimentary, very baseline level. Hey, they're competing. They're both doing well. I thought Zebrowski made an interesting comment about kind of the areas for improvement for both. You don't necessarily always hear him talk in specifics about those guys, but he did the other day. Talked a little bit about with Ballard being rigid at times, which means, I think, and they maybe both explained it slightly differently, but, you need to be fast and loose, right? You need to be able to make fast decisions and be loose with the football in terms of the way you throw it. Like, you can't think like a robot, I throw ball here now. You need to have some intuition with it. And I think that's the thing that they've worked on with Ballard, and Ballard feels good about where he's at with that. For Marshall, I think the exact quote was functional intelligence with the offense, right? Being able to command it, know where guys are going to be, make sure everyone's in the right spots at the right times. And so I thought that was a very interesting comment from Zebrowski. As for the competition, like, we don't really get to see a whole lot. You see him throwing. I think Cole's arm's probably slightly better than Isaiah's. I think Isaiah is a better athlete than Cole. And so it's going to be kind of an interesting dynamic to see how KU uses both of them, because Leipold, Zebrowski, the coaches have kind of all been in lockstep that multiple quarterbacks will play this year. So that's going to be interesting.
What does Ballard bring in the running game vis-a-vis? We know Marshall's the better athlete, and as such, you would assume a little bit more dynamic of an option on the ground. But what could Kansas do with Ballard as a running threat to add a dimension of the offense while he's out there?
So here's what I'd say. Isaiah is a dynamic athlete, one of the best athletes on the team. I'd say Cole can scoot. He can move. He's not as fast top-end speed-wise, but, you can go back to K-State tape, the times that he run the football, like, he is mobile, and he can move, and he's probably a little more of a physical runner, who, if you remember early days of Jalen Daniels, I've been going back and watching some old KU games from 22 and 23, Jalen would kind of throw his head forward at people. Like, he was perfectly fine taking hits, and I think that's a little bit of Cole's game there, too, where he's not afraid to lower the shoulder and try and boulder over somebody. So, I still think he can offer you stuff in the run game. Again, I don't know if he's got the home run speed where you give him one crease, he can take it 75 yards. I'm not sure if he's got that to him like Isaiah does, but I think you can still run a quarterback run game style of offense with Cole in there.
Couple more questions from Michael Swain of Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network, joining us as he does every Tuesday at this time for Jayhawk Weekly. There continue to be developments in litigation against the NCAA, players who played 4 years of college sports that did not get a fifth year that they would have gotten under the new eligibility rules, suing for the right to get that fifth year, and a blanket waiver being issued. Heard yesterday that Darian Williams, who was a star at Texas Tech 2 years ago and then transferred, is going to play for Texas Tech again this coming season if indeed his fifth year of eligibility holds up. Where does KU stand with their roster right now, and is there a chance? We know about Melvin Council, and he's his own case, but what about a guy like, for example, Trey White, who was a 4-4 player? Is he somebody, even though he went through Summer League, that would be eligible and that KU might have interest in bringing back?
Yeah, so he'd be eligible. You got to see what's going to happen here. So the court in Colorado has denied the NCAA's kind of appeal, and it's going up to the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals, and that will be heard. There's some talk maybe at some point this week, and at that point then we'll know if this class-wide injunction for anybody who would qualify for a fifth year under the 4-for-4 rules, which means if you play for 4 seasons and you didn't redshirt, you would then be qualified to play for fifth season. So, right, that's Trey White. I think there is interest in Trey White going back to KU, obviously, and then you got to see what happens with the transfer portal. It was the domino that could happen. If this is passed, or the Court of Appeals says, no, this injunction stands, everybody can go on, then you've got to see what happens with some other cases where does all of a sudden the transfer portal open for this class, and what sort of impact would that have, right? You look at Will Wade at LSU, he needs bodies, and he's got money probably to spend because there's some guys they've added that are probably not going to be eligible with the way the NCAA is handling these international kids. So you got to wait and see if that happens. Now, if the portal doesn't open, obviously Trey White did not go in the portal before the window closed. So if he wants to go back to college, it'd be at KU, and I think that'd be something the coaches are open to. Because, look, you're adding someone that was a high-impact transfer for you last year on the wing. I think KU, you got Cole Rosario and Dennis Parker Jr., two guys who have some talent but haven't necessarily consistently produced at the high major level. And then you can say you can add someone who has done that in Trey White. I think that's a sound addition to the team. So we got to see where this thing goes. Like, it's so hard to speak in absolutes right now just because you don't know, how these different judges and courts are going to rule stuff and what sort of dominoes are going to fall from there. But right now I do think, there is a world in which Melvin Council and Trey White are both back at KU next year.
If you want to read all about it, fog.net is the place to go, and now would be a great time to be a BIP subscriber at 24/7 Sports to read all of Michael Swain's work. He joins us every Tuesday at this time on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline for Jayhawk Weekly. Michael, it is always a pleasure. We'll do it again next week.
Awesome. Thanks. Talk to you guys next week.
That is Michael Swain. We'll take a timeout. Quick random question Tuesday when we come back on 580 Sports Talk. A quick random question Tuesday for you here on 580 Sports Talk. Booted up the PS5 for first time in a while. Finally got the new College Football 27.
Okay.
Run a couple of games, and just, kind of scratching the surface of it a little bit. I don't want to ask about that. I want to ask about what non-sports video game did you play the most, whether it was a computer game, whether it was a console game, arcade game? What non-sports game did you got the most run when you were a kid?
Ooh, when I was a kid? Ooh, that's a really tough one. I played a lot of different ones when I was a kid.
What was your favorite one, Dan?
Ratchet and Clank.
Oh, wow. My brother had Ratchet and Clank.
That was such a fun, kind of open world kind of game.
I remember.
That was a good one. Or
had the fun,
Sly Cooper.
The big weapons, like the weapons Ratchet and Clank had, were kind of fun.
Sly Cooper?
I don't remember that one.
I think that was one. I could be just misremembering.
My brother was much more into like the open world, like adventure type, like finish a level, collect the whatever, like those kinds of games. He was much more into those than I was. I was very much 95% of my gaming was like franchise mode, dynasty mode, things like that on the sports games. But I did like the Crash Bandicoot series very much for the PlayStation.
Okay.
I played the Crash Bandicoot games a lot. Now, my video gaming started with the PlayStation. So, like,
I started with PS2.
So, anytime like I was over with like at a friend's house or something, they had a Nintendo, I loved playing Mario Kart. I still love playing Mario Kart. But the one that I played the most by far was Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah.
Shout out to the texter for 785 who said, for me, it's the Oregon Trail. Love that. I played that a ton in school. I remember we had that in second grade on the computers at school. I played a lot of Oregon Trail.
We had old Mac computers.
Uh-huh.
Like the big, I don't know, like, but when they had like the long back ones, and there was some like kind of like 007 game that we would play in first grade. It was
wild.
So fun.
Man, speaking of 007, I had a friend with
the next year they switched to Dell and then never seen that game ever again.
I remember GoldenEye 64 too. That one went triple platinum in the on Nintendo 64 for the sleepovers when they had a buddy with a 64. Yeah, man, those
I had
games.
a James Bond movie or a video game. I don't remember which one it was.
We might go back to a random question coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. But right now, I want to close this hour with a word from my friends at Eagle Auto Wash and Detailing Salon here in the capital city. It's a new school year. You're maybe getting into the parking lot at your school for the first time, whether you're a teacher, administrator, or a student. You want your car to look good. You want to make a good first impression with your ride. That's why you got to go to Eagle Auto Wash and Detailing Salon, because they'll give you the brightest shine in the capital city. They'll treat your car as if it were their own. And the ultimate wash passes start as low as $19 a month. Soar with the Eagle Auto Wash and Detailing Salon here in Topeka. Mitch Holthus at 525. Headlines, some Royals, and more in the final hour. 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Third and final hour of 580 Sports Talk on this Tuesday afternoon. Dan Lucero, Spencer Dupuis, rocking with you until 6 here on the sports voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, on your mobile device, on the MSC radio app, and on YouTube, 580 Sports Talk. It's a good time to download the app, the MSC radio app, on your iPhone or your Android or your tablet. It's also a good time to subscribe to us on YouTube, 580 Sports Talk, because before you know it, it's going to be high school football season. And when it's high school football season, the MSC Radio Group is going to have you covered better than anybody else with play-by-play coverage. And you can have your own little radio version of like NFL Red Zone for high school football in Kansas.
Yeah.
At your fingertips with the MSC radio app, with the broadcast that'll be on the air from the MSC sports team across Northeast Kansas, including our 580 Preps Game of the Week here on 580 WIBW, or for the first month of the year on Country 106.9 if there are Royals conflicts. Find a station, punch it in. You don't have to sit through 3 minutes of pre-roll ads that make you wonder, well, wait a minute, am I actually going to get to hear the station that I want to hear? No, boom, you're right into it. You're right into the game. You go from game to game to game on a Friday night. You got the scoreboard shows as well, including our high school football scoreboard show from the Kansas Information Network that airs here at 10 o'clock on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. So
Eric Peterson back with that.
EP back on the desk this year for another year of scores. Also, we're going to do some stuff on the YouTube channel. We're going to do some more YouTube shorts. We're going to do some YouTube content relating to local sports this year that I'm excited about. And we're going to have that as a part of what we're doing with our football coverage in particular. And we'll see how much we can grow it as we go. We'll start slow and we'll see where it goes. But now's a great time to subscribe so you know when we post video content, when we're going to go live. We'll be there on YouTube every night. Not every night, but every video. Every video. Now I'm not doing YouTube every night. I got my wife and son would not be thrilled with me. But every time we do a video, whether it is live or otherwise, whatever night or day we may publish it, if you want to be informed, go subscribe to the YouTube channel today. 580 Sports Talk. Just tap that subscribe button, click it, tap it on your screen, and that's all it costs you.
Yeah, we saw this last night in our emails. Our new co-opted version of what you guys know as Pigskin and Hoops. The magazine's coming back.
Magazine's
Dan announced
coming
that a while ago, and we got to see one of the first mock-ups last night.
Yep, it's coming soon. It's going to be in businesses across Northeast Kansas, sponsor sites across Northeast Kansas. As soon as we get it in our hands, we'll let you know where you can get it. Because if you're across Northeast Kansas, you're going to want a copy because it's bigger and better than ever.
125 pages.
The MSC Radio Group's Pigskin Preview, combining with what we've done for years here at WIBW with the Pigskin and Hoops. This is a football-only preview. And if you're thinking, oh, well, you're not doing basketball, wait till the winter.
Yeah.
Wait till the courtside guy drops and blows your mind in the winter. But football. Pigskin Preview. It's coming. It's coming before the end of this month. You'll have it in your hands before kickoff of the high school football season, September 4th. We'll let you know where to get it. We'll let you know when to get it. So be listening for that information. 62 schools in the preview covering Northeast Kansas, covering the capital city area, all the way out as far west as Rock Creek, as far south as Burlington, as far east as the east on 70 is Perry LeCompton. The whole Big East League is in the magazine. The whole NEKL is in the magazine. The whole Twin Valley League is previewed in the magazine. We got schools in Nebraska and Missouri in this thing. It's awesome. It's gonna be awesome, and we're really excited to roll it out very soon. And stay tuned. And on 580 Sports Talk, we'll let you know where you can find it, when you can find it. The Pigskin Preview coming very soon. That's a little bit of a synergy there, product synergy, what we're doing there. We got one more hour of sports talk today. Royals baseball tonight, 8:30 pregame, 9:10 first pitch, game 2 of 3 between the Royals and the Dodgers in Los Angeles. Royals lost by a run last night, and I am conditioned over years of rooting for an NL West team that goes to Dodger Stadium and loses almost all the time. I am conditioned to think that a one-run loss is almost like a win. Hey, that wasn't so bad. We only lost by a run. That wasn't terrible. It was agonizing the way it happened with the Royals blowing a 3-0 lead, but the Royals and Dodgers will be back at it again tonight right here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. We'll have some thoughts on that a little bit later on. We've also, in about 15 minutes, got the voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holthus, joining us for another training camp report brought to us by Azure Credit Union and Hy-Vee. Xavier Worthy, the focal point of today's training camp report. And, of course, this hour, we'll take your text, 785-272-9429, and your YouTube comments if you are watching on the YouTube channel. The live chat is open. Again, the name of the channel is 580 Sports Talk. But let's get to some headlines, and let's just clean up the watch list nominations today in one fell swoop as those continue to come out as we inch closer. We're inside of 20 days to college football. Week 0 is in less than 20 days.
I know. I'm excited.
So close you can taste it. So the watch lists continue to be revealed. The Werfel Trophy, which is awarded to a player who leads through community service while excelling in the classroom and on the field, released a 113-player watch list today, and both a Jayhawk and a Wildcat are on that list. For K-State, it's running back Joe Jackson, and for KU, it's offensive tackle and former Free State High Firebird Calvin Clements, who were nominated as preseason members of the Werfel Trophy watch list. Again, that's less about what you do on the field, though certainly on-the-field prominence is part of the award, but it is about leading through community service and excelling in the classroom as much as it is about excelling on the field. Well-rounded student-athletes in their communities, so it is quite an honor to be on the Werfel Trophy watch list. Calvin Clements of KU and Joe Jackson of K-State are also on a watch list today from Kansas State. Luis Rodriguez named to the Lou Groza Award watch list. He'll take his crack at being the second Wildcat ever to win that award for the nation's best kicker since Martin Gramatica won it back in 1997. And he's not a Wildcat or a Jayhawk. He was a Scot. He was briefly in Ichabod. Last year, did you mean to do that in sync with me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You got to warn me. You freaked me out. He was last year a Commodore. This year he's a Cardinal. Trey Richardson of Louisville was named to the Paul Hornig Award watch list. That is for all-purpose excellence. Expect to see Richardson as a receiver and a factor in the return game in the ACC this year for the Louisville Cardinals. So that's your watch list season roundup to open up our 580 Sports Talk headlines. Spencer, hit me with some Big 12 volleyball.
Yes, coming very soon. Also, I did not realize until today that they have their own version of Media Day
They
as
do.
well.
I think the first set or the first spike or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that's a new thing this year, actually.
Yeah. So Arizona State was announced as the favorite in the 2026 Big 12 preseason poll. Arizona State's Naomi Glover was the preseason player of the year. Kansas's Taylor Stanley, the preseason freshman of the year. The preseason poll and awards with the preseason team coming out, as I just mentioned, Arizona State, the favorite in the league, 194 points, 12 first place votes. TCU in second with 3 first place votes, 177 points. KU and third with 159 points to wrap out the top 5. Baylor at 4, Colorado at 5, and Kansas State in there at 11. And the Big 12 volleyball preseason team announced as well, featuring 2 Kansas Jayhawks, Reese Messer, the sophomore, for KU, along with Reese Plattick. So the 2 Reeses.
That's Patasic.
Yes, Patasic. The junior or third year, I guess. She was a unanimous selection in this as well. As KU gets ready to begin another big season where they're going to have national TV action as well across the season.
That's right. Cool note that Messer and Stanley, both earning preseason honors, are both Kansas kids. Reese Messer went to St. James, and Taylor Stanley is from Blue Valley Southwest. So KU been doing an outstanding job recruiting some of the best players that the state has to offer, and 2 of them earning preseason recognition, including League Freshman of the Year for Taylor Stanley. That's a huge deal. So,
yeah. And then one other note here, the AVCA preseason poll comes out, and KU is ranked number 15 to start the season after being ranked third in the preseason poll for the Big 12.
Next headline for me. You watch any of the Little League World Series?
I typically do
tune
a
in?
little bit here and there. Whatever. Like if I'm just scrolling the channels and there's nothing on.
Yeah, I like baseball enough that I'll check it out. Like
Usually it's the later rounds.
Takes me back, to my. I've got to the district tournament, which is like the entry level. Like so, if you make a Little League All-Star team, you go to districts, and you go state, and you go to regionals, and then you go to the Little League World Series. So my team, Arapahoe Little League, Aurora, Colorado, we made it to districts. We won one game. We did win a game, but that was it. It was a double elimination tournament. We won one, we lost two. And that was the end of my 12-year-old journey to Williamsport. Cut well short. We've well short of Williamsport.
A lot of kids have that same story.
A lot of kids have that same story. And among those kids who are not going to go to Williamsport are the players from the Tulsa, Oklahoma National Little League who were found or ruled to have used an ineligible player. So after they won their semifinal game to advance to the championship game in the Southwest Regional, Little League International ruled that they had used an ineligible player, presumably a player from outside of the bounds of the district in which the Little League is allowed to take players. And that ruled the team ineligible, and the tournament continued, and Bourne, Texas, won the tournament. But Tulsa National got a temporary injunction. I hate that we use temporary injunction so often on a sports talk radio show. We really do. Like the word bubble of 580 Sports Talk should not include temporary injunction as big as it does. Anyhow, the Tulsa National Little League got a temporary injunction from a judge in Waco, Texas, that it made them eligible to play, and they posted a release, the Tulsa Little League did, that they would get to play against Bourne for the championship, which was the originally scheduled matchup. Bourne defeated the team that Tulsa had defeated to reach the final to win the tournament. And they said the championship will be determined on the field tonight, August 11th. Well, Tulsa National can show up to the field if they want. Bourne ain't going to be there because Little League International has told them, you guys are the champions. We believe that our ruling will stand up in court. We believe we have the right to enforce our rules and our bylaws about player eligibility. And we are moving forward with Bourne, Texas, as the champions of the region. Get ready for Williamsport. You guys are going. You don't worry about this. We'll take Little League International, take care of this. You guys just don't bother showing up. Go get ready for Williamsport. So kind of fascinating. All these temporary injunctions out there, and we've seen people kind of fold like a tent in the face of temporary injunctions. Yeah. We've seen people dig in their heels on temporary injunction. Well, here's Little League International saying, yeah, temporary injunction this. Yeah, we're not interested. We're not going to go through with this sham. We believe that we can enforce our own rules. Interestingly enough, Tulsa National softball, Little League Softball World Series, they were also kicked out of the tournament for use of ineligible players.
Seems like they need some better accounting.
Yeah,
in those programs.
They're cheating, Little League cheating going on down in Tulsa.
Yeah, I guess
apparently
it's the nature of that Little League.
Little League litigiousness. I don't know, man. Like on the one hand, let the kids play, but also like don't cheat.
Little League is crazy sometimes.
Yeah, that's the understatement of the century. Give us an NFL headline here, Spencer.
Yes, we have a starting quarterback being named, and I think a lot of people expected this one. Kyler Murray was with the Cardinals for the start of his career, but he signed with the Vikings this offseason, and he's been named the starter over J.J. McCarthy, who is just not good at quarterback. He's just not a good quarterback, right?
Yeah, this is not in any way surprising.
No,
and
it's barely news.
Pretty obvious where this was trending as well, that things were going in this direction for the better part of the last couple of days, especially of camp for the Vikings. Yeah, this is not necessarily about, Kyler Murray has definitely turned a corner in his football career and can expect to see his best football for Kevin O'Connell, rather. I mean, you might. He could be good, I suppose. I think this is more about, like, J.J. McCarthy is just not it.
Yeah.
J.J. McCarthy. And look, hand up, there are a lot of people got fooled by J.J. McCarthy. I thought, like, leadership-wise, like, the kid had it, and he could figure it out as he went along. Just he had, like, there was a intangible value that he had that I thought would be helpful, and I thought the arm was there. Man, go back. Michigan didn't let him throw the damn football, man. And that was, yes, Jim Harbaugh likes to run it when he can, but Michigan didn't let him throw the football. He passed, 7 times in that game against Penn State, that must-win game at Penn State, J.J. McCarthy's draft year, and they ran the ball, 17 consecutive times to finish off the game because that was preferable to letting JJ do anything. That should have been a much bigger tell than it was. But man, he had a lot of people fooled going into last year. Like we talked to Matt Verderam about it. Matt was totally sold. He went to Vikings camp. People were raving about the kid.
I remember that.
He had a really good camp by all accounts, and then he couldn't stay healthy. And when he got on the field, it was a disaster. It was a disaster. I don't think he's going to start NFL games ever again. Not on purpose. Like, he could kick around for some time as a backup, but I think his days as an NFL starter are already over. One last headline. If you're an NBA fan, you now know how you'll be spending your Christmas day. The season openers and the Christmas quintuple header schedule was announced by the NBA today. The NBA will open their season with an afternoon game on a Tuesday, October 20th. They'll have a triple header with a 2 p.m. Central Time tip between Boston and Detroit.
Now, the NHL and NBA are doing random afternoon games.
I wonder if they noticed how much people liked watching sports during the day during the World Cup, and were like, well, hey, maybe we can siphon off some of that audience. The second game of the opening night triple header will be the Knicks raising their championship banner at Madison Square Garden against the Philadelphia 76ers, for whom LeBron James will be debuting. The late game will be a Western Finals rematch between Oklahoma City and San Antonio. Your Christmas Day schedule: Spurs versus Knicks, Heat versus Celtics, Sixers versus Lakers, LeBron against his former team, Thunder versus Wolves, and the late game, Nuggets Warriors, which means your pal Dan has the choice between watching Seahawks Rams and Nuggets Warriors that night. Both of my favorite teams play late night on Christmas. My wife is delighted, let me tell you. At least it'll be after.
I saw somebody break down the entire sports day on Christmas, and it is just too crazy.
Yeah, those 5 NBA games are all really good.
You're two screening
and then the
big games.
Yeah, the Christmas games for the NFL should be really good. Packers Bears in Chicago, Buffalo Denver at Denver, and Rams Seahawks should be massive in the late game. So that is
crazy.
That's your Christmas. That's your Christmas settled.
That's how you spend Christmas. Tell your family now.
I'm probably not going to watch a lot of Packers Bears. I'm just going to throw that out there. We're going to take a timeout. Mitch Holthus, voice of the Chiefs, joins us for a training camp report after this on 580 Sports Talk. .527 on 580 Sports Talk. And once again, it is our pleasure to be joined by the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, Mitch Holthus, for another training camp report on 580 Sports Talk. These are brought to us by Hy-Vee. The world's best tailgating begins at Hy-Vee, proud official sponsor of the Kansas City Chiefs, and by Azura Credit Union. Visit with the Azura Credit Union Home Loans team. Mitch, it's Prove It Week, Step It Up Week, however you want to phrase it. And today we focus in on the third-year former first-round pick at wide receiver Xavier Worthy. And, boy, it felt like year two for Worthy was going to be the prove-it, step-it-up year. And then 3 snaps into his season, he was derailed by that injury. How much, in the end, did that really affect his ability and the Chiefs' ability to get what they wanted to get or imagine that they could get out of Xavier Worthy?
Yeah, two-part answer to a question. The first part was the time he missed. The second part answer is that he never was really healthy. He came back and could play, but he never had all of his juice. The situation with Xavier, and then he re-injured his shoulder here. It was a week ago Saturday that he went down awkwardly on it on a long pass from Patrick Mahomes. That's before we were in pads. It was on the 3rd was a Monday. It's the 1st of August. What Xavier has to do next step. We know he can be double move. He's 4-2-1. He's got to be able to be reliable on 3rd and 8 to catch a pass for 9 yards. I know he's not DK Metcalf, but this league's most productive receivers now, the Puka Nakuas, the Jackson Smith and Jigbas, will catch a slant at 8 yards and make a catch, tough catch, tight window catch, and get a first down. In the case of Xavier, he's had 101 catches the last 2 years and 7 touchdowns receiving. Remember, he's got a couple rushing jet sweep types, but he's only had 58 first downs. You're looking at about 50%, and that ratio needs to go higher. Now, what's interesting about Xavier and where he's at in his NFL life is that wide receiver room is so young that he's almost become an elder statesman. So there's a lot going on here with Xavier, but I talked to him first about, you're the veteran in the room here. So he actually embraced that, but he's been honest about trying to take his game to another level and do the right things.
Feel like a veteran? We're like the old veteran now in the wide receiver corps.
Yeah, I'm kind of feeling like a vet now, man. But yeah, it's cool just to have guys that's asking those questions. I was a guy asking those questions, and I feel honored to be able to help the younger guys and obviously be a lesson for them and help them.
When you backed up this year and looked at your game, saying I need to do these things better, what have you made a priority?
Play every play 100%. Obviously, be stronger at the point of contact. Obviously, with this offseason and me and Andrew last year, it was getting that shoulder back and obviously being able to do the things that I couldn't do last year, which was limited by the shoulder. So I just want to be able to get better as an overall receiver and route running included.
So you heard it in there, making the tough catch, or however he worded it, but that's exactly what I'm saying. We know you can get open on a double move and get behind the defense some, but somebody in that wide receiver room, because Kelsey's 36, and Kelsey's been that guy, but you need wide receivers to be that guy as well to keep the chains moving, especially when you see all of the two deep coverage. Teams are going to let you do certain things, but they get you to 3rd down, and they're going to play like a cover 2 man under, meaning they're playing man-to-man at the 2nd level, and you got to make that catch and make a tough catch, and that's where we're at with Xavier right now.
How much does having a new voice offensively for him, and new voices, plural, because this is his first time working with Eric Bieniemy and also Chad O'Shea, the new wide receivers coach. How much can that help him get a new perspective, some new concepts, and improve his broader skill set? Because the tools, as you mentioned, the speed is undeniable. The tools are there to be successful. How does he then benefit from having some new voices in his ear as he tries to add to that toolbox?
Honestly, from those two human beings, with EB and with Chad, you're going to get challenged mentally and not just physically, but mentally and emotionally, because those two guys are into mental toughness. Now, let's be honest. Xavier's a tough dude. I call him Fresno's tough. He came from Fresno, California. There's always the knock on the Texas Longhorn players, though. They're kind of soft. They're super talented, but kind of soft guys. That's unfair. That's not always the case. But in the situation with Xavier, he came from Fresno, California. He's a tough kid. He just has to now take the teaching and the challenges mentally and emotionally he's going to get from Chad and EB, and then form that, mold it into clay to become the next step receiver. He does not have to be Jackson Smith and Jigba. It'd be cool if he would. He's got to be a better version of Xavier Worthy. Now, Chad not only is a fire breather, he's a technician. And Chad was with us before, and Chad's been a coordinator. But you've got to become trustworthy for Patrick Mahomes. If a route calls for 5 steps, or you have to alter it based on what they're showing you pre-snap or in the split second post-snap, then you've got to become that receiver. And then it's a tight window, and you got to make the tight window catch, take the hit, maybe break a tackle, and then with the speed, it gets real interesting. But you have to do all of that, because then you earn your trust. You earn the trust of Patrick Mahomes.
We're talking to Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs. He joins us for a training camp report, courtesy of Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union, here on 580 Sports Talk. We remember some big plays that Xavier Worthy has made. We remember the deep reception for a touchdown he had toward the end of the Super Bowl 2 years ago. Obviously, Chiefs were well behind in the game, but it was still that deep connection from Patrick Mahomes, who's got the big arm, and Xavier Worthy, who's got the elite speed. But those moments, those deep connections, have been few and far between in Xavier's first 2 seasons. That was supposed to be the thing that he could come out of the wrapper and do successfully, and those moments have only been, like I said, few and far between. So how does Worthy get better as a deep threat? Because if it were just about pure speed, again, nobody's matching what he can do stride for stride. How do he and Mahomes get better? How do the Chiefs make sure that they're getting the most out of Worthy with his plus tool in the tool shed?
Well, and again, a lot of it is structural, and those deep balls have been taken away. Teams just aren't giving you that anymore. He had the 54-yarder against the Chargers on a deep post pattern his rookie year. But the way the teams are playing the Chiefs and continue to play them, you're just going to not get that very often. Now, to answer your question, teams will press him. They'll press him at the line of scrimmage, meaning Xavier Worthy. They'll press him and then have somebody over the top, and that's that man under cover 2 concept. Well, he's got to win at the line of scrimmage. Now, the way you beat a man under cover 2 deep is that you numbers to boundary. If I get off the press and I could either go route, maybe a double move, a little shake action, a sluggo, where I go in and out, then you've got to make those catches when it's numbers to boundary. You're not going to get the deep post very often, maybe once in 6 weeks, when you got safety sitting back there waiting to wreak havoc with that deep pass. So it's being a numbers to boundary deep catch guy, being more precise in your routes, and also winning at the line of scrimmage. He's not a big guy, and he'll play off some. He's not always, but they're going to try to punch him, man. They're going to try to take you off the route and off the timing of the route. That's learning how to be a pro. And winning that is not just necessarily being more physical. It's footwork, it's hand technique. It's almost like an offensive lineman. But a pro to become a real pro, a really good receiver as a pro, you have got to win.
Mitch Holthus is joining us here on 580 Sports Talk. This is a training camp report presented by Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union. Mitch, I don't think that we ever got to see, and we lost Mitch there at the end, and we're trying to get him back on the line right now here. Again, these training camp reports on 580 Sports Talk are brought to us by Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union. And now we've got Mitch back. Mitch, I want to ask about the presence of Rashee Rice, who should be closer to full health this year. It always, they say that it takes, a receiver really 2 years to kind of get back to where they were after an ACL injury. We've seen that before. So if Rashee Rice is back closer to 2024 form, how can that help Xavier Worthy unlock more of his game this year if Rice is back and capable of being that complement on the other side of the formation that he was only able to be in fits and starts as he worked his way back last year?
Well, I'm going to not just include Rashee Rice in this. I'm going to include those running backs as receivers, or maybe a Cyrus Allen. If the more pressure you can put, no matter the coverage on a defense, think of I know this is being simplistic, but the cover 2-man underlook, and you're in a nickel package, you're going to get a mismatch with K9. That means 2 backers have got to cover the backs. And those safeties are setting back, taking away the deep pass. The corners are trying to win press, and they may press and do a combo package and pass them off. But if K9's catching it at 8 yards, that's terrifying for those corners, because you're going to have to try to tackle him in space, and he's got power and speed. So let me throw K9 in there, even the other running backs, and Brashard Smith has had a good camp. Throw him in there. But the other wide receivers as well. So I would your Rice question is a very good one, but I'm going to put commas in there. It's Rice, comma, Cyrus Allen, comma, Jalen Royals, comma, the tight ends, comma, the running backs, comma, and with the running backs being a threat for the first time in 10 years, that becomes a super help to Xavier Worthy. Because now let's say you want to get a numbers to boundary deep throw. Well, that corner is occupied with a lot more than just, hey, I'm going to press Xavier and play him down the field. Because if there's a dump to Xavier or to K9, to Ken Walker, and he's by a linebacker, you're all that's there. A safety may come to help, but now I got to get back at 20 yards and stop and go, and maybe Worthy blocks me, I don't know, but now I've got to make a play. So my mind is occupied with more than just trying to bump Xavier Worthy down the sideline here, if you catch my drift. So I will see your Rice and raise you other dudes, including K9.
Last question for Mitch Holthus, voice of the Chiefs, joining us for this training camp report here on 580 Sports Talk. This is year 3 for Xavier Worthy. He's on a 4-year rookie contract. As a first-round pick, the Chiefs have the option to pick up a 5th year, but they have to decide whether they're going to exercise that option prior to his 4th season. And setting that aside, many players, the trend in the league now is for first-round players, first-round picks, very often to get contract extensions going into year 4 so that teams can make sure that they have that player, if they feel good about them being part of the program, around for their prime year. So in that sense, you could call this a contract year for Xavier Worthy. And I know, different things motivate different guys in different ways, but is that another layer that sort of adds to the need for Worthy to prove, hey, I'm not just straight line speed guy. I'm a receiver who can do everything and who's real additive in a lot of different ways to this offense?
Yeah, think of it from 2 ways. Think of his agent, because they've got to have the second contract. The way the rookie slotting is done now, their goal of every player is I got to hit the second contract. That's why Isaiah Pacheco was pressing way too much last year, I think, because he's like, I got to get the second contract. That's where you really push things forward in your life as far as the rest of your life. But you've got to look at it from the team perspective, because look at the draft every year. Wide receivers That's what everybody wants to play in college. They want to be a wide receiver. They want to be in a 4-wide offense. They want to have 100 catches and be endorsement guy, fantasy football guy. We as fans have led receivers into this culture. So what Xavier Worthy has to do is exactly this whole topic of discussion. It's why I put him on Tuesday of this week. He has to prove that he's worth that second contract, because that's a big investment. Because if you miss the second contract as a team, now all of a sudden you're going to have some dead cap money, and you're going to have accelerated money that's going to hurt you down the road. You've got to get the second contract right. You may boob things up on the first, maybe we didn't make the great pick, got it. But you cannot make that mistake on the second contract, because it'll jack up your salary cap, and we've seen it ruin teams for a while. So that's why the topic of discussion is what we got.
Mitch Holthus' training camp reports on 580 Sports Talk are brought to us by Hy-Vee. The world's best tailgating begins at Hy-Vee, proud official sponsor of the Kansas City Chiefs, and by Azura Credit Union. Visit with the Azura Credit Union Home Loans team. Mitch, who are we talking about on Prove It Week tomorrow?
I'm going to answer a question with a question. How many yards does Kelsey get this year?
I think about if he's around 800, 900, that's I think that's a reasonable expectation for a player of his age, but also his caliber.
Okay, I think that's a very good answer. Let's say it's 800 or 750. Who's going to pick up the slack of when he was in his prime getting 1,100 yards? Noah Gray is gigantic to this discussion. And Noah Gray has got to make the step forward, not to be Rob Gronkowski, but to be a better version of Noah Gray. Not just, oh, yeah, okay, cool. Noah got a touchdown. It can't be a luxury. It's got to be a necessity. But Noah is making strides to that end. And we'll discuss that tomorrow night and why Noah is got a shot at doing it and taking it up a notch.
The voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, Mitch Holthus, here on 580 Sports Talk. Mitch, a pleasure. We'll do it again tomorrow.
Thanks, fellas. Appreciate it.
That is Mitch Holthus. We'll take a timeout, come back, talk a little baseball as we wind down this edition of 580 Sports Talk here on 580 WIBW. .546 on 580 Sports Talk. Dan and Spencer hanging out with you today. Getting close to the conclusion of today's show. We kind of ran through random question a little bit earlier, and we never got to yours, Spencer. Did you have a random question today?
I did, and now I've forgotten it.
You spaced it?
Yeah, no, I forgot it.
Gone. Yeah. Mine was about video games we played, non-sports as a kid. We had a text from 785 say Legend of Zelda. Shout for that one. I never played that one. Again, I was not really like a adventure game player, though. That was never like, I just wanted to be the GM of my favorite whatever team and play the sports games. We buy them every year like clockwork. In July, college football, Madden in August, and then the hockey. The hockey would come out in like September. We get the hockey. We get the every now and again we get a basketball. It wasn't annual, but every now and again we get the basketball. You get the baseball. Get the baseball in February. It was triple play. Then it was MVP baseball. Then it was the show. Get that every February. And
did you have to have? So obviously, up until like a few years ago, you were more of a video gamer.
I could play more often. Yes.
Yes, is what I'm trying to say here without sounding like a D-bag.
Okay.
But did you have to have that PlayStation console to play MLB? Because I know you're a big baseball guy. When MLB The Show was only on PlayStation?
I was always a PlayStation loyalist. So, yeah, that's how I found the show. And, yeah, so I've always been PlayStation over Xbox.
I bounced. I had a PS2. Then I got a 360.
Huh.
And then I went back to a PS4.
No, I've always been PlayStation guy. PlayStation was my first console when I was 10. My brother would have been 6. My parents bought us a PlayStation, one of the OG PlayStations. Actually got fried in an electrical storm. We were playing, I think, NASCAR, and in lightning, zap, took it out. And we bought another one. I think it might have been under warranty. We got another one. And then PlayStation 2. Then I bought a 3 when I went off to college, and bought a 4, bought a 5. And I don't know. At the rate we're going, by the time PS6 comes out, it's going to cost like $1,300.
Yeah.
And the games are going to cost like $150. So, that's another topic for another day.
Well, because, games are just getting too real.
Well,
like the new Grand Theft Auto's coming out, and the last one was pretty real. I don't know if you played it.
I did not.
It's been out for 10 years, so I didn't know. But man, like the amount, I think it's going to be like $89 or something.
Yeah, like $69.99 for a new sports game. I remember when they were $49.99. It felt like.
And then they went up to $59, and you're like, "What are we doing?"
That's why everybody bought NFL 2K5 because it was $20, and it was better than Madden. And then Madden said, "Well, we can't have that," and then they bought the exclusive rights. And video gaming, honestly, sports video games has not been the same since then. But that's a much longer treatise for another day where I have time to rant about that. Royals baseball coming up tonight, 8:30 pregame, 9:10 first pitch from L.A. Game 2 of the series between the Royals and the Dodgers. I thought we'd get a pitcher's duel last night. We really didn't, and that's a credit. Well, number one, we know the Dodgers lineup is really good.
Yeah.
But the Royals lineup had some really good at-bats against Tarek Skubal.
Jack was having a good night.
Jack Caglione in particular, only the 9th home run that Tarek Skubal has allowed to a lefty in his career, which is nuts. Remember when Q wouldn't play Cags against lefties earlier this year?
Oh, we were fired up.
Oh, yeah, back in March and April. So quick check-in on that after Cags had an RBI single and a 2-run homer off of Skubal. 2-run homer, by the way, on an 0-2 pitch where he was out front of a changeup and still nuked it 111 miles an hour off the bat. So Cags is still a lot better against righties. But against lefties so far, he batting 248 and the 272 on base you'd like to see increase. But a 446 slug against lefties will play. The big problem is he's struck out 38 times against left-handers, and he has walked once, which is incredible. I almost thought that was a misprint. 1 walk against a left-handed pitcher all year and 38 strikeouts. So, work to be done, but clearly we're not trending in a direction where, he's a platoon player. Yeah. You have to find him a caddy against left-handed pitching. No, he can start against left-handed pitching. He gets to his power often enough against the best left-hander in the game. He got to his power on an 0-2 pitch last night. So that was impressive. And honestly, like, Cags doing his thing is way more important than John Schreiber giving up a 3-run double to Max Muncy or Alex Lang doing what Alex Lang has done all year. Like, that stuff doesn't really matter. We know this Royals team isn't going anywhere, and next year we don't have to watch those guys pitch anymore. And won't that be a relief? But Cags doing what Cags does, that's the exciting stuff. He's up 21 home runs. He got an outside shot at 30. He's been hot lately.
We talked about it. That was one of my either-or over-unders after the All-Star break.
They usually come in bunches for him. So if he stays hot, like, he's got a chance. He got a chance to get to 30 by the time this season is done. Another tough assignment for the Royals tonight. Blake Snell coming off the 60-day IL. It's one of those like, the Dodgers have that 2-time Cy Young Award winner too.
You think Clayton Kershaw retired and you're like, oh, they just got Shohei and what's the other?
Tyler Glass now and the World Series MVP, Yoshinobu Yamamoto.
Yes. And then it's like it just keeps going. And now Scooble.
Yeah, they got Scooble. They got Snell. Yeah, they're
loaded.
Going to be hard to beat in October. The lineup the Royals will throw out there against this lefty will look very similar to last night's. Nick Lofton at third base will lead off, followed by Bobby Witt Jr. at short, Jack Caglione at first, Salvador Perez DHing, batting cleanup. Carter Jensen will hit fifth and catch. Michael Massey bats sixth at second base. Tyler Tolbert gets the start at left field tonight and bats seventh. John Rave is in right. Kyle Isbell is in center field. Michael Wacha gets the start for the Royals. They haven't given him a great deal of run support or bullpen support yet. He has just one win in his last 15 starts, despite a 3.88 ERA in that time frame. He's pitched really well, but nothing to show for it. He'll go up against the Dodger lineup that has yet to be announced, according to MLB Game Day. I'm sure Shohei will lead off, and Freddie Freeman. And
Shohei's working back up to pitching again, by the way.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, they got him in reserve if they need it.
Look, like,
if they need
that's the guy. Oh, we'll break glass in case of emergency at the end of the year.
Listen, I think people are being a little shrill with the whole the Dodgers are ruining baseball. I think people are a little overdoing that argument, but also there is no denying, man, this is lame. They got all the good players.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it's fun. I don't think it rocks. Like, I wish it weren't the case, but the stuff's cyclical, man. We thought the Yankee dynasty would never die. When I was a teenager, I thought the Yankees were just going to win forever and always, and they've got one title in the last 26 years.
Yeah.
So there you go. Royals baseball tonight, 8:30 pregame, 9:10 first pitch. Ride it out with the Dodgers is what I'm saying. We'll take a break, come back with the final word next. It's time for a final word to conclude today's 580 Sports Talk. Spencer Dupuis, give it to me.
It is game week for the Chiefs. We're not going to see a lot, but, man, hearing Mitch every day on the air and playing back the media availability, it's getting me ready for football season. And I'm going to tune in a little bit to that preseason game, probably record the rest of it and skim through it. But excited for preseason football this week.
Final word for me, we ran Collin Klein's press conference live during the 3 o'clock hour on today's show. A couple things that he said that stood out to me, talking about Avery Johnson and saying how much he is pleased with the mindset and the approach of the senior starting quarterback, and saying that there's not really a lot of negative about anything he needs to work on. So it sounds like Avery's going to be in a real good place entering 2026. And also talking about how pleased he was that fall camp has been a smooth starting camp. They haven't had to go back and retrain on things. They've been able to, as Klein put it, hit the ground running, and has really been impressed with how his guys have been able to start fall camp on a real positive note. Sounds like it's been a good start to the first fall camp under head coach Collin Klein. Royals baseball tonight, 8:30 pregame, 9:10 first pitch. We're back tomorrow from 3 until 6 here on the program. For Spencer Dupuis, I'm Dan Lucero, and this was 580.